Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. I myself am doing well. I found my favorite shirt. Isn't it goofy how something so simple can make you so happy? This is a Into the AM t-shirt, and Into the AM does a bunch of like really nice fitted printed t-shirts or whatever. And they have a bunch of advertising through like nerdy channels, and somebody randomly bought me a Into the AM non-printed tee. So no logo, no print, no nothing. And they got double XL, and it fits like perfect. Fits like a glove. And I had 3 of them, and then I lost 2 of them, and then I had one of them, and now I found a second one. So my day's going amazing. I'm having a great day. um, Not just that, but I did a little texting with my Moldovan friend from Tampa. You know, nothing crazy, just a little friendly texting. So that's cool. And then I'm trying to think of what else. I went Ruth Reuth. He's a gentleman. Normally a DGGer, but we hang out, and he's local to me. So we not to like dox him or anything, but like we've been working out recently. It's been awesome. So getting consistent workouts in, consistent cardio in, consistent hangouts in with friendly folk, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So Randy Chang says, "Good morning, nerds. Good morning to you." Fellrunner says, "Early, true." Conservative Liberalism says, "Second like reporting in 07. True. Thank you. I did switch over to live chat and I did set a goal." Jeb Kush says, "Good morning." Conserve says, "Remember, ladies and gents, live chat is better than top chat. I beat you to it." Jeb Kush says, "Oh my God, he's early. 2XL fat." Yeah. I'm joking, Booby Bear. It's fine. It's fine. I could be a little fat. I don't even think I'm that fat anymore. I think the 15 pounds that I lost in the past few weeks has actually probably gotten me at my desired weight. Maybe I could lose like another 5 or 10, but I wouldn't want to lose much more than that. So Conserve says, "I've got a few Into the AM shirts. They are legit." I know. I'm a huge fan. I need to get to it. Weld QC John says, "Good morning, Grill Hottest. May your grill stay hot. May your beer stay cold. May you keep all your fingers while blowing things up. Amen." Indeed. Brandon Mull says, "Get to it." No, Brandon Mull. Matter of fact, I'm going to slow down just because you said get to it. Eat a dick. How's that? Ah, good times. Good times. Ah, your fire talk important things. Nothing. Okay, hold on. I need to set the pace for Brandon Mull real quick. Number one, we're only a stream of about 50 to 70 people, so I'm gonna see your chats. And if you're a gray name I've never seen before and you're antisocial and weird, you're probably not gonna last very long. Number two, nothing like there are things that we talk about that are important. The Ukraine war, the intermediate drone campaign, the strikes against desalination plants and nuclear facilities, Trump authorizing like a civilian nuclear program for Saudi Arabia in the past 24 to 48 hours. We do talk about important things some of the time, but nothing we do here is going to be life changing, earth shattering, whatever. It's literally a community of 50 to 70 internet autists hanging out, yapping about current events, news, and politics, and talking shit about people we don't like. So if you're looking for some kind of like earth shattering, game changing, like 10,000 live viewers, 20,000 live viewers, making millions of dollars, doing canvassing operations and all that kind of shit, and you need to feel important, then go watch Hasan or go watch Destiny, because this is a small but fun internet community of internet autists. Give a girl more muscles to look at, but some soft bits to grab onto. Yeah, that's the philosophy. That's the philosophy. Randy Chang says, as long as the AI thumbnails keep adding those hilarious extra chins, fuck you, Randy Chang, and fuck Arthur for starting that. Yes. Jeb Kush says, I'm not an autist, I just have brain damage. True. Well, what else? I mean, I guess that's really it. I'm going to show you guys what's on the docket. I'll even give you a choice on what we do first. So apparently, Soypill. Okay, so the liberals are ass mad that they weren't able to get into the CDA. But let's be real. They weren't able to get into the College Democrats of America event, not because they were liberals, but because they fucking were hanging out with Destiny, and Destiny is a provocative character, right? And so apparently, Whick and Hutch were upsetty spaghetti that Soypill was sweeping for the lefties that kicked out Destiny and crew. So I wanted to check that out because that is a little bit of a debate thing that we can do. Now, the obvious, more, spicy content, I suppose, is I don't know what's in here. It's a 38-minute video from Asmongold, but it basically says it's finally catching up to him. And the opening is Destiny reacting to Asmongold reacting to, Hasan Piker kicking him out of the CDA event. So you got 3 large creators. They're all beefing over the event. Could be fun. Then this one, I already pre-watched about 4 minutes of it, but it's basically just going to be shit-talking Hasan. Although, weirdly enough, I might defend his honor a little bit, where Hasan Piker was gifted a news story from Cutie Cinderella on 9/12/2001 with pictures of 9/11/2001. Because he obviously had that clip that went viral that almost, he got death threats and he got called onto Fox News and all that kind of bullshit for saying, fuck it, I'm going to say it, America deserved 9/11. Now, I understand that might be like an internal community meme, but the fact that you have that on your fucking wall framed, and you probably feel the same way geopolitically, is kind of fucking wild. So I think what I'm going to do in order to, because it's going to be a sloppier day, I do need to leave a little bit early. I have a doctor's appointment at 3 p.m. I need to get there by 2:30 p.m., so I'm probably going to be wrapping up around 1:30. But I'm going to give you guys the option. So, Asmon versus Hasan versus Destiny. Hasan 9/11. Whick versus Soy. Lib versus Leftist Civil War. There you go. So it's a little bit of a sloppier day, but also I feel like we have disproportionately covered like news stories recently. I think yesterday we did Geopoll, day before we did Geopoll, day before we did Geopoll, like at least one segment. So I'm a fan of the fact that, like, since we were back down to like the 50 true coggers, we can do whatever the fuck we want. And therefore Geopoll is getting a higher proportion of airtime. But I do want to get some slop in too for shits and giggles. I'm going to need more tea today for sure. Randy Chang says, it's funny wandering into Steven's streams and hearing him say, oh, and there's Officer Nasty. I know. What does... Okay, maybe Officer Nasty is like a big, nefarious, fucking evil sack of shit. I don't fucking know. Maybe he's like this nefarious, manipulative, snarker fucking terrorist. But, like, how is it not easier to just go, hey, there's some retards on the... Sorry, use the ableist slur, my bad. There's some autistic, schizophrenic, deranged haters on the internet who hate my guts. Okay? Like, is he that bad? I'm mean on Twitter. Everybody's mean on Twitter. Soypill is the only person trying to approach that whole drama earnestly. I am excited to watch that because I think that he's probably going to say, even though you guys know me, I'm like an anti-leftist too. But he's going to be the one who's going to be like, it's not because you're liberals, it's because it's Steven. You know, like that's going to be funny. There were some other shady moves by the CDA besides kicking the DGGers out. Okay, I'd love to hear about that, to be honest. I'd love a video on it that has nothing to do with the DGG side. Okay, well, I mean, it might be. I mean, I think Whick is going to articulate the DGG side, but I mean, between Soypill and Whick, I do trust Soypill to articulate himself well enough that he might seem a little bit stronger. Right now, it's all just through that lens, I'm sure. There's a huge problem with the leftists trying to subvert the Dems. Of course. Of course. I mean, that's the liberal leftist civil war we've been discussing for the past year, don't you think? Homie stays leaving early. I know, it's my bad. This one though is, what was it? I left early on Tuesday so I could go on my date with my Moldovan lady, I think. I don't remember, but I think I did that. And then yesterday, I think I stayed until 2:30. I think we voted on it and I stayed until 2:30. And then today, legitimately, I need to do this because if I go do this, it's a sleep study. So I get decent sleep, but I've been told by the ex-wife and the family that I snore really, really, really bad, probably even worse when I was 15 pounds heavier. And basically, like, they were like legit worried, like, that is bad snoring, borderline, we think you have sleep apnea. So I did go to the doctor and I was just doing my annual physical. Pretty much everything was fine. But they did ask me about the sleep stuff. I did mention the sleep stuff. And then they signed me up for this thing. Well, if I get this thing, sleep apnea is like a diagnosable issue that correlates with all this other bullshit. And it basically makes my VA shit really, 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 really simple and really, really, really easy. So I should go do it. And I will. So it is, it's necessary. So my apologies. It's cringe. Getting older is cringe. Snoring is cringe. Being an old man is cringe. But, you know, we need to be cringe in order to survive. So it is what it is. You need to teach the DNC how to set up a snarker quarantine. True. They need to have a leftist quarantine where the leftists are allowed to vote, but any person who says that, like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free and or we need to seize the means of production and decommodify basic human needs, and also Mao wasn't that bad and Stalin wasn't that bad, you need to, like, give them, like, some kind of tattoo, a barcode tattoo, and then you need to segregate them in the event and move them over into the leftist exclusive quarantine zone. That way, the leftists and the people who sympathize with leftists can be in their own little fucking corner of the party. That would be funny as fuck. Officer Nessie for 2 says, I be mean on Twitter sometimes. It's true. Yeah, well, everybody's mean on Twitter. Like, how mean? Like, are you posting people's family and shit? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing that's so cruel and so evil? Yeah. Pondering felt pretty honest and good faith. Yeah, Officer Nasty, that's my beef with Pondering, though. Not that I have, like, a beef, but Pondering is, in my opinion, overly charitable. Overly charitable to the leftist side. Overly charitable. So, and it's not that he's bad. I think that he's earnest. But, you know, I obviously have more of a Hutchian view on the leftists. Go watch Luke Beasley watching Asmongold's girl talk shit on him for being disgusting. No, I'm okay. That's too sloppy. Officer Nasty says, is there a date too with the Moldovan woman? Not yet. So the distance, I think, is a challenge. She has a kid. I got kids. I'm traveling. A little bit of docs. I'm traveling to Texas this weekend in order to go see my mom for her 70th birthday. Rest of the family is going to be there too, so that should be fun. And so there's no like super strong plans. But she's just a good person. So I I think you guys know I'm holding a candle out for Melissa, so you know, I'm waiting a certain amount of time before I gently reach out to Melissa and say, "Hey, what's up? What's going on? How's your dad?" Um, so I think you guys know I'm kind of holding out a candle for that. So, whoops, sorry, I'm a simp and a romantic. It is what it is. How was the Moldovan former Soviet bloc breadline blankety blank? We didn't get that far. We didn't get that far. Have you tried one of those nose clip things? No. I mean, they look cool, but I don't... Dude, you know what happens with me? I hate to say this. I know this is so cringe or whatever, but I don't care. You know what happens with me? I go unconscious. Or unconscious. That's all that happens. I go unconscious at, 9, 10 p.m., and then I wake up at, whenever I wake up, and it is what it is. Like there's no experience on my side that is negative. Like, I don't wake up in the middle of the night, or at least I don't remember waking up in the middle of the night, trying to catch my breath or panicking or whatever. I don't, if it happens, I don't remember it. So I don't, for me, it's other people telling me that happens. But I don't remember it at all. I think I just wake up, I go, and then I roll over and I go back to bed. Conserve says, I snored really bad back in the day. Luckily, putting that stuff aside and losing a little weight did wonders. Yeah. And I don't drink that much, really. I really don't drink. Unork says, I've been getting myself looked at regarding sleep apnea. Let us know how it goes in the process. Yeah. Just to give you a heads up on the process, at least from my perspective, they have at home, they have this like at home monitoring equipment. And basically I'm going to like a class this afternoon on how to use the at-home monitoring equipment, and then they just monitor it, and that's it. Somewhere Dan Crenshaw is going to be mad at you. I did see that, Jeb Kush. I understand that reference. So Dan Crenshaw, sorry, we should start the content soon, but Dan Crenshaw was mad at the veterans of foreign wars because they torpedoed some kind of deal where they were going to get like improved benefits for like widows. They were going to get improved benefits for family members, where if like a veteran dies, the benefits are transferable to family members or something. And the VFW torpedoed that negotiation because the money that was going to go to widows was coming out of a reduction in the payout for disability for like sleep apnea and something else that Dan Crenshaw didn't like. And Dan Crenshaw did this like rant into a cell phone saying like, fuck you, VFW. You screwed over widows because you didn't want to take down these two disability things that are some of the most abused like disability things in the VA system. And I get it. Like he was a mover and shaker, man. He was like an operator. So for him, if like a bunch of 30-year-old fat fucking pogues are claiming sleep apnea and getting 50% disability, meanwhile he has friends who have like limbs that are fucking blown off, and they're getting 30% for fucking limbs getting blown off, but they don't have sleep apnea, I understand how he would be pissed. Like I get it. And didn't he say that he only got like 10% or 20% for his eye? I think he got like a really low percentage for his eyeball. So it's kind of funny. I'll explain this real quick because we're already in the weeds anyways. But the way that it works is there's potential for 100% rating of disability, but that doesn't mean you're 100% disabled. It just means that you are at the maximum level of disability that they're going to have a maximum payout for, right? And so what they do is they take your highest level disability, could be 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever, and then they add in your smaller shit until eventually, and then they like divide it by something, and then eventually they get up to a percentage, right? And so what's crazy is that like there's disability shit like Dan Crenshaw's eye, a blown off limb, sleep apnea, tinnitus, mobility issues, arthritis, blown out ligaments, blown out, fucking soft tissue injuries. And so what you do is you correlate those to your military service. How did you get injured this way? How did you get injured this way? Was it military related? Then if you could substantiate that it's military related, and if you have a medical diagnosis of an ongoing issue, then you get your percentage based off of the severity. So Amplifax says that's wild. My friend got 100% for a thumb. Lol. Well, I mean, then maybe Dan Crenshaw's lying. I don't know. But yeah, but like missing limbs. I do. Now I kind of want to Google like how much do you rate when you lose a limb? Rob says my CPAP was a complete game changer, nose cushion, so I keep my beard, energy, mental clarity, blood pressure all moved within a week. Oh, interesting. I've heard mixed things about CPAPs. I've heard that they're terrible, they're uncomfortable, and as a result, most people stop using them after an extended period of time. And then I've heard people like you say they are game changers. They massively improve sleep quality. And then as a result, they don't feel like shit anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. Rob says easiest CPAP symptom to clock is the ability to easily fall asleep at the drop of a hat. Oh. Huh. I'm not without melatonin. I'm not like I have to use melatonin every single night. I do 3 milligrams of melatonin every single night. Yeah. Anyways. Nameless Henchman says VA website says 10 to 60% for an eye condition. Well, I'm assuming if you're missing your eyeball, you would probably rate 60%. Like, if your eyeball has been sheared out of your skull, you probably would get 60%. So maybe Dan Crenshaw was exaggerating, how little he got. Either that, or I'm misremembering the quote. And what's funny about that, I guess, is even if maybe it was because he was comparing sleep apnea is 50% and then 50% and then his eyeball is 60. So he's saying like fat pogues because listen, man, I'm a pogue. I'm a person other than grunt. I wasn't on the front lines, right? And I have plenty of alcoholic pogue friends who got out. They stopped working out. They kept drinking. They're working shit jobs. They're overweight. They're not taking care of themselves. And so as a result, is their sleep apnea really service-related shit? Or are they not taking care of themselves? And as a result, they're fat. And then because of their fatness, they are developing sleep apnea. And then they go back to the VA and they say, hey, I'm having trouble sleeping. And then they're getting hit with a 50%. That's where I'm assuming Dan Crenshaw is pissed. Even if he got 60% for his eye, a fat pogue who hasn't done PT since they got out and they've been an alcoholic their entire lives are getting hit with 50% disability because they can't sleep. So Jeff says you shouldn't have to use melatonin every single night. I do, man. I also shouldn't have to take Tums and Gas X every single night before I go to sleep, but I do take 3 Gas X and 2 Tums every night before I go to sleep so I don't wake up because of heartburn. So, yeah. Not when you're going to bed. Think about being in a movie or passenger in a car. If you can just fall into the void, that was my sign. That was your sign that you do have it or that you don't have it, because I can fall asleep pretty easily in most places. Many of the guys I was with have 100% with no limbs missing. Maybe it's a Navy thing. Nah, not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's plenty of shit that could be fucked up with you. Look, it's Cotter talking about something he's clueless about. Like what, Tyler? You fucking... Dude, oh, man. DGG trying to get me, like, shit canned for using ableist and homophobic language is crazy. Because you think, like, you think if I'm an independent creator, you think I'm not going to use homophobic and ableist language against you? It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, Kings. We love our pogs. Yeah, pogs, not pogs. Is it a drama stream? Kind of. It's not like I'm involved in the drama. It's just I think you guys did vote. Oh no, it was Whick versus Soypill won out, and then Asmongold. Partial drama stream. Yeah. Darius has been spamming the F slur all week. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's not a consistency thing, I know. True. Interesting. Rob says, falling asleep really easily in those situations was my sign. I did have it. My aunt pulled me aside and was like, yo, do you always do that? Gotcha. Anyways. Pog. Connor was a fat ass white girl. No, Pogue. Person other than Grunt. But anyways, let's start the content. I need a tea refill anyways. And we can have a good time watching the liberal versus leftist civil war, inject a little commentary on our own, have fun as a chat. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats. If you've got a membership, if you've got them, a pair, socially love you. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I'm trying to be a rhino, a Republican who is honest, has integrity, nuance, and objectives. Well, one of my great sins over the past couple of years has been enjoying the liberal versus leftist civil war. There's an increasing amount of economically disadvantaged, socially alienated young people in America who have either clung to dissident right-wing or dissident left-wing politics, and in the dissident left wing, they're becoming socialists, communists, or social democrats. And those people typically have a correlation of hard left geopolitical takes along with their economic takes. And so what's happened is, pretty much for people who do political commentary under the age of 40, is we've been trying to balance out the liberal, pragmatic, incrementalist, institutionalist wing of the party, which is arguably larger than the leftist extremists, but then like try to let the leftist extremists have their say so they're part of the electoral coalition. That's been a huge challenge on the political left, never Trump coalition. But the truth is, some of them are psychopaths, sociopaths, freaks, and they're counterproductive to the voting coalition because they're so monstrous. And so it's been this balancing act for liberals, particularly Hutch, particularly IRI, particularly Pisco, particularly Josiah, who are online political commentators who I would say are more liberal than they are leftist. How much do you let the leftists get away with? Recently, the liberal debate streamer Destiny was prohibited from attending the College Democrats of America because the leftist political commentator Hasan was giving the opening speech dressed as Chairman Mao Zedong. And he was doing some economic populist socialist dog whistles during his speech that got effectively a standing ovation from the College Democrats of America. So this has spawned some discourse within the liberal leftist political commentary sphere. Whick is a liberal who hates the leftists. Soypill is a progressive who is sympathetic to the leftists but doesn't like all the crazy shit they do. Hutch is a nice guy who is a liberal who hates leftists, and Hutch hosted a debate between Whick and Soypill, which is what we're checking out right now. Let's take a look.
All right, guys, friend of the pod. Actually, he's not a friend of the pod. He is a pod brother. Soypill got into some hot water yesterday for running a little light defense for the Democratic group for banning Destiny and Digital Ground Game from the same event that Hasan was at. Him and Whick got into a little back and forth on Twitter. I invited them both onto my stream to talk it out, and here are the results of that. If you guys enjoy this video, click like. If you guys enjoy the channel, consider hitting subscribe and the bell notification.
Because I saw the clips from that event, and I saw the ones where people are like, "Oh, let's go snark Hasan," and then the org guy's like, "Oh, these guys might cause a disruption. I'm going to kick them out. And I'm like, I don't think that's that crazy. Given that information, that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be asked questions. But like, I don't know. I just had like a very what I would consider a tepid take on like, given the information. I don't think this guy is like crazy. I don't know. What did you see that I haven't seen?
I didn't even see the clips that you're talking about. So like that was my question that I asked immediately. Like, well, what did these people say that made them cautious? And I didn't get the rest of
this is all scattered information, right? I'm seeing random clips of my timeline of like this Darius character hanging out with I met North. North was at LibCon, and they're talking about like, oh, you know, like let's snark, let's ask about shocking his dog, and I'm like, okay, like if this is like what the clips this guy's getting are, and I don't know if there's even a Q&A, and these people are like, you know, oh, let's go in here and get this guy. I can reasonably say that him seeing that and going, oh, maybe we shouldn't let these guys into the venue here is not like the most ridiculous decision in the world.
Chat's saying, by the way, the people who said let's go snark Hasan made it in. It wasn't. It was like Destiny was banned, but those people actually got in.
Oh, they weren't all in a group.
Yeah. Wait, Whick is in here too. Do you want to have a conversation with Whick too?
Oh God. Yeah. Hold on. I got my sausages here. Let me get on my mic. Give me 2 seconds. Should I hop in your server, or are you gonna add it to the call?
I'll add him to the call.
All right. Give me a sec here.
Well. How you doing?
Now you guys are gonna get ASMR sausage eating.
That's okay. How you doing, man?
My
good.
experience.
My phone's blowing up, baby.
My experience with the Beyond stuff is that it's like very salty. Isn't there a lot of sodium in that stuff? In the Beyond sausage and all those meats.
You know, probably, but it's probably not as bad for me as red meat and being carcinogenic. So we'll see.
Okay. So, Soypill.
What's up, buddy?
I think that you did. So you watched the clips that JStock was posting and things like that, saying, showing Darius and North basically talking about how they were going to go and ask questions to Hasan, like old enough to count, old enough to mount. What did you mean by that? That kind of thing.
I didn't see that one. Is that a thing Hasan said?
That's the thing he said. And
that's
one of the questions that Darius wanted to ask him. Do you think that was worth kicking him out for?
No. In fact, I think you should be able to ask anything. The thing that I'm saying is, if the leader of this organization is like, all right, this guy's coming around, and there's not like a venue to even ask questions, I don't think it's that unreasonable to say, hey, I'm worried about you guys coming in here and disrupting. I just think that's like a snap.
Yeah, there wasn't even a Q&A. I want to address some stuff in chat real quick, though. It is relevant. So, Timberlodge says, do we have the facts on Hasan dictated that Destiny be banned for it, or if the organizers did it themselves, does that make any difference to you? It doesn't necessarily make any difference to me, because I still have the opinion that they have the right to do it, even if we don't like it, right? So if the CDA if they decide that they want Hasan Piker dressed as Mao Zedong delivering socialist dog whistle bullshit as a part of their opener, that's their right to do as Americans. We, of course, have the right to criticize it. But, you know, I don't think private events have to let in anybody, especially if their plan is to be some level of disruptive. Also, the old enough to count, old enough to mount question mark, meme, that's like what? A decade, maybe a decade and a half old comment from Hasan Piker when he was trying to be like a edgy red pill dating advice bro before he even really took off as a creator. Like, obviously that's not like a real question about his current politics. So I think that's fucking silly and points to the fact that they planned on being disruptive. So weirdly enough, I think that's, evidence for the lefty side to say, hey, fuck you. You didn't plan on actually contending with us politically. You just planned on fucking with us for your own optics. So Crawling Chaos says, hey, Connor, please, will you remind me of social democrat or democratic socialist? Are they the same thing? So weirdly enough, I think the ambiguity around those terms, this is the one that I really wanted to address, is part of what like democratic socialists fuck around with is they basically suggest democratic socialists pretend to be social democrats. Okay, so social democrats are Scandinavian model economics. The Scandinavian model is a free market that is taxed heavily, that has a robust welfare state. They have universal access to healthcare. They have maternity and paternity leave. They have disability payments. They have like a really robust welfare system that effectively anybody in the society who has a disadvantage can be taken care of. That is social democracy, taking capitalism and orienting its excess productivity in order to take care of the productive population. Democratic socialists believe in decommodifying basic human needs and workers owning the means of production, but doing it through the system of representative democracy. And I'll try to make this brief, but decommodifying basic human needs means that food, water, and shelter are free. Okay? They're totally free. You need a place to stay? The government is going to give you a place to stay. You need water in order to survive? You got water in order to survive. You need food in order to survive? We're giving you food in order to survive. We have decommodified, meaning these are no longer market-based products. The government literally provides these services and products for free. Okay? And then workers owning the means of production means that you can do this through the market or you can do this through the state, but it basically means any economically productive institution is you will get a stake in their profit effectively. So you have a vote in how they conduct their affairs. You are a part of a democratic body within the economic institution. And realistically, if there is such a thing as profit at the end of this day, you're going to get some kind of profit share as a member of the institution. And that is enforced by the state. So the reason why I can still fuck with soc dems is because they're just mixed economy capitalists with a robust welfare state. The reason why I don't fuck with democratic socialists is because I think they're fucking crazy. So, anyways. I'm going to get some tea. I'll be right back.
Snap decision they got to make, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
like that's fine. That said, I think
people-
these people should be questioning Hasan for being an insane tanky and hiding it at his this thing. You know, like he's, other than the mouse suit, like he didn't nearly go as mask off as he usually does, and I think he should be pressed on that. But was there even a venue to ask him questions?
So I don't think so. I don't think they ended up having a Q&A. But again, the people who were kicked out had been there for hours, to be clear, before they were kicked out. They were in there for hours. They were doing interviews. They even, the guy that eventually kicked them all out originally wanted to get them a press pass when they were there so that they could do streaming. And they talked to a bunch of people, right? And they had interviews, things like that. They weren't being disruptive at all. No one was complaining. Everyone was treating them nice. And they were following the rules that they were given.
Well, sure.
It was
Just to be
only
clear,
when,
the
just real
behavior
quick,
leading up.
finish up.
Oh, okay.
Let me finish up. It was only when Hasan texted them that Destiny was coming in to kick them all out that they got kicked out.
Do you know that for sure, by the way?
That's what Mook said. Mook said that she saw the text. She was shown the text from the person, and the text saying Hasan is saying that these people are. I forget the exact words of word, but it was clear that there was a direct communication with Hasan. Yes.
Who's Mook?
Mooks is one of the girls who was kicked out with them. She's I don't know. She was just kind of one of the people there.
Gotcha.
What I was going to say was them being not disruptive up to that point doesn't really matter if the guy's worried about them disrupting with a specific person. I mean, obviously, if they were disruptive before, that would be more indication they should kick them out. And I'm not saying they should be kicked out. I'm saying it's not unreasonable for him to think, oh, maybe this will be a bad thing. That's literally all I'm saying. Especially if they don't have a Q&A, which, I mean, yeah, you know, a big pussy probably didn't want a Q&A, right?
All the other events had a Q&A, apparently, because he had other speakers. And I don't know, again, I don't know if Hasan was originally supposed to have a Q&A or not going to have a Q&A. I don't know, but I don't think whether or not there was going to be a Q&A isn't what matters, especially since no one knew whether there's going to be a Q&A. Like, why would you assume, or why would anyone assume that these people would be disruptive when there's really no evidence that they saw that they were going to be. The only thing that happened, the only thing that they saw, they didn't see any of these clips. They didn't see anything like that. The only thing that these people saw,
How do you
made the
know that,
decision
Whick?
to kick them out.
How do you know that they didn't see clips of I'm just trying to steel man as much as possible? Like,
Sure, I guess I don't know for certain, but have seen no evidence that they have, and the clips that came out, right, from JStalk were posted after the incident, right? Were posted after they got kicked out. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know if they saw. I don't know if the org guy is a snarker and like follows Justilk or whatever.
I guess it's
But like the stream was
possible.
before, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yes, it's possible. I just don't think it likely.
I mean, my position is this: if Hasan is just tweeting at this org guy and like, I don't like Destiny, don't let him in, that's bullshit, right? Because it's just like, all right, you are just using your favors to have someone kicked out that has no reason to be kicked out. My understanding is that this guy might have had word that these people were, you know, planning to go be disruptive, and that's why he made that call. I don't think that's crazy. That's it.
I just don't understand, like, and I genuinely don't understand why we're giving so much charity to people who have demonstrated. I mean, it's just Occam's razor here. It's much more likely that Hasan was texted, because we saw this on his stream, right? That someone.
By the way, didn't we see yesterday or the day before? Didn't we see Hasan basically get a text message? Hey, some kick streamers are coming to disrupt your event. That's I'm pretty sure that's literally what happened. Was somebody was stream sniping Darius, hanging out with North and the other people, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go fuck with Hasan. We're gonna go snark Hasan. We're gonna go ask him some tough questions, whatever." And then what ended up happening was basically Hasan saw that and then texted the event organizers prior to the event. Proof or bullshit? I don't know how easy that's going to be to find. Was it in Asmongold content yesterday? Is that where we saw it? Hasan gets warned about kick streamers CDA event. Hasan Destiny out of event, looking for Hasan defenders. Hasan is so scared, laugh my ass off. It wasn't that. You'd have to check. You'd have to check yesterday's stream. So you go look for it. I'm busy.
Messaged him that Darius and Destiny were thinking of going. He got pressed by that, right? And we know he sent texts to some of the organizers saying that these people needed to be removed, and then they were removed. These people, again, to be clear, most of them had not said anything on stream, right? They hadn't even joked about snarking, right? We had Mooks removed, we had Persec removed, we had Radiant removed. There was a whole group of them who hadn't done anything. Peaches was removed. Like a lot of people who hadn't said shit, right? And again, other than maybe Darius, none of these people have a record of disrupting events. Like Destiny's been to plenty of hostile events, conventions. He's never disrupted at all. He's never been kicked out at all.
You're laying out a reasonable argument for like what would be like the you know, Whick panel debate on whether or not this was a reasonable decision, and not this person had a limited amount of information and saw that people might be disrupting and said, okay, I'm kicking your whole group out just in case. Which is why I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I don't think that's that crazy. But if he had no indication that any of that was going to happen, if it was literally a top-down call, Hasan guest says, hey, kick this guy out for me. Well, I don't know if that's true, but if it is, I think that's bullshit. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
you're saying it's more likely. Sure I haven't seen that. And if that's the only thing that happened, then yeah, it's just like, okay, so at the behest of one of your guests, you just kicked out other people that had paid tickets because he doesn't like them. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. I agree.
I feel like that settles that.
Okay.
to a certain extent, right? Like, what else is there to talk about?
I do have one more thing for you, Soypill, if you don't mind. You made a tweet at me.
Oh
last
yeah,
night
you're
that I
retweeting
felt very
Fox
unfair.
News, buddy. Come on, you're lost. You're lost. Look,
So
want to
hold
get.
on,
You gotta get-
I just want to make this really clear. So you will vote for people who come in your family to win, but you draw the line at retweeting Fox News in order to win.
I'd vote for you still after you doing that.
You know what I'm saying, though? It's like such a weird line to draw. Is like you will support Blue no matter who, Plattner. You will do it in order to win, but me retweeting Fox News to showcase the leftist rot that is hurting our chances electorally is sometimes is I'm lost. Like, what
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
think
So here's
beating
the thing.
MAGA
It's like,
meant? Vibes, papers, essays? Like, this means
look,
doing what is necessary to get rid of the bad actors within our party so that we can eventually win the election against MAGA.
I think it's easy to criticize the bad actors in our party without resorting to Fox News bullshit when you like are retweeting an article where it's the panel that I was part of, by the way. And this isn't why. I didn't even realize it was that panel. But I remember this panel after looking into what they're criticizing. And it's like Kyle Kalinske calling Mackies, and it's like he's calling Mackies who want to like institute the Fourth Reich. And so you're
Was he only talking about MAGA, though, or was he talking about the United States broadly?
He's talking about them all.
I mean, I'm sure he was absolutely doing and the Dems are complicit insofar as they're not stopping this. Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's just calling there.
Yeah, that's the rhetoric they're focusing on. The Fox News doesn't give a shit if Kyle Kalinske says Dems aren't helping us win.
But when people click on the link and they watch the clip, and it's obvious that they're talking about like just the government, Democrats, Republicans, all of it, right? This turns people off from voting to us. And as we are connected to this shit, it's
wait.
insane.
Clicking that and reading that turns people off from voting for us?
Do you think if Destiny called in and said a bunch of Hasan fans were going to disrupt the event, do you think that they would have kicked out all the Hasan fans? Like,
wait, what? Hold on. Are we talking about the Fox News thing?
No, not the Fox News thing. I want to talk.
Oh, so
Hold up. Just want to address some stuff in chat. Fell Runner for the 5 says, thank you for the trip, King. The right called Dems incompetent, ineffectual, and dangerous for a generation, and the youth listened and now want Chairman Mao Chinese finger trap. Yeah. The reason why I'm annoyed, upset, whatever about this development, it's not that we didn't see this development coming. Like Lord of the Nerds says, anyone surprised that a dude dressed up as Mao is giving democratic speeches has been delusional for years? Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's just bad, right? It's the same thing with the development of Trump, right? Seeing Trump surge in the polls in the primary up into the 30%, while all the centrist, neocon, moderate Republicans were splitting the vote for the 55% of the party, and then all of them refusing to drop out, and then Donald Trump becomes a dominant force in the Republican Party. It was horribly predictable. But you can see horribly predictable things happening and still think they're fucking bad. And that's what's happening right now. Having Hasan Piker deliver a speech dressed as Mao Zedong about economic, populist, left-wing, sloppulous talking point bullshit with a few socialist dog whistles in there, and then getting a standing ovation from the CDA is a problem. How big of a fucking problem? I don't know. Maybe it's 5% of the party. Maybe it's 10% of the party. But at the same time, it's an official national level Democratic event that disproportionately goes for young people. And according to Hasan himself, he was told that a substantial amount of the people in the audience were DC staffers. So that means that a substantial amount of DC staffers under the age of 50 in Washington are fans of Hasan Piker and his bullshit. That fucking sucks. I'm telling you, it's identical to me as if Nick Fuentes showed up dressed as fucking Hitler and gave a white nationalist speech with fucking Christian nationalist and Nazi dog whistles, and then he got a standing ovation from the College Republicans of America. You know, if Nick Fuentes got like endlessly applauded at a TPUSA event, I would be similarly perturbed. So
We're going back to okay. Hold on, you're
One more thing about
jumping around.
the kick out, right? If again, Destiny had called in and say, "Hey, I'm coming to this event. There are a lot of Hasan fans there, and I know they don't like me, and they're going to disrupt and they're going to cause a problem, and I think you should remove them." Do you think that the organizers would have removed them?
The organizers of the same event, like if it was
Yes.
the roles were flipped,
Yes.
I don't know. If the guy's wearing a keffiyeh, probably not. I bet they're more amicable to the Hasan crowd than the Destiny crowd,
Sure.
considering who
Well,
was the
that's
speaker
point,
there.
right? That's the point, right? That they were willing to listen to Hasan and just without evidence, just because, again, Hasan says it, no evidence presented. And
Well,
again,
is
they
that what
did have
happened?
evidence that these people were not being disruptive, and that evidence was that they were in the event for hours, interacting with people, Hasan fans too, and not disrupting.
Yeah, but is
It's
that what
not
happened?
proof that they're never going to disrupt, true, but it is evidence.
It's yeah. I'm just saying. Obviously, if they're being disruptive already, this is clearly an indicator they're going to. But if they're like, oh, these people want to be disruptive to this specific person, that's what they're worried about. That's a different story.
I don't know, man. It's just like you came at me pretty hard last night for retweeting Fox, and
That was
Yeah, I'm saying
that was not pretty hard. I'm just saying that was going pretty hard.
It's hard.
It's
It's
one of
hard
those-
enough.
hold on,
hard
it's-
enough
it's
that
not
I-
like
no,
super
I'll defend
hard, but
Wick, I'll
it's
defend
like-
Wick. I said
hard for
buddy. All right, that's
okay.
like the N-word for white people. Okay, like if a white guy calls you buddy, you know some shit's about to go down.
It's true. Okay,
Yeah.
pal. Pal's probably is pal worse than buddy? Is buddy worse than pal?
Listen here, Bucko. Where do you get off? Where do you get off? No, look. I think that if we're going to be fighting against, like, I remember when Dara Lisa won, right? And there's all these Fox News articles being like, crazy she is, saying this.
She is crazy.
Yeah, no, she is. But like, we can do that and point out that the person that wants to abolish prisons is absolutely not going to be making our party look good without like promoting Fox News narratives that embellish and make it even worse. That's what I think is like.
I don't think that the article I tweeted, and I have to look, I don't think it embellished things. I think it was just repeating what was said.
Can I jump in real quick? Like, I think
Yeah, of course.
Soypill. It
Hold
sounds
on,
like
your show jumping in. Hutch, what are you doing? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
it sounds like you're making like an optics argument, which is fine because I make optics arguments sometimes, and that's valid. But I feel like Whick is also making an optics argument because it's almost like you're missing the forest for the trees a little bit by complaining about the source, because I think the point is like the optics of Daria Lisa winning that primary are really bad for Democrats because it gives platforms like Fox News valid ammunition.
Yeah,
wait.
I made the same argument when it happened. You're preaching to the choir here. What I'm saying is like, let's say, okay, you know when Hasan like like Nick Fuentes or Groypers to like get at Destiny or like get at liberals, like don't you think that's kind of like losing the plot where it's like you are literally siding with to like win this fight? Like maybe you can make these points without aligning with these certain people. Maybe you've like become a little brain poisoned by some of this stuff to the point where you're retweeting like some of the worst, like biggest propaganda outlets on the planet that are sued to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars for lying.
No. But I'm saying like, what if Wick's point was like when you're giving Fox News like.
It's literally the like genetic origin fallacy or whatever, the genetic fallacy where just because somebody you don't like is orienting a point that's truthful doesn't make the point invalid. Now, Fellrunner says DGG getting kicked out of the event is less of an issue than Chairman Mao getting a slot due to young staffers overriding the org heads. Well, I think it's worse than that, actually, Fellrunner. So the vice president of the organization of the CDA is the person who kicked them out, and he was wearing a keffiyeh while he was kicking them out. Now, I don't have a problem if you're pro-Palestine or you have some kind of like moral argumentation about the existence of the nation state of Israel. But of course, like Hasan Piker has made Israel-Palestine one of his main issues, and he's not some kind of like centrist moderate on Israel-Palestine. He is a fucking from the river to the sea. The Israeli state needs to be abolished. It's a European settler colonial state. It needs to be evaporated. Any Jews who are still in the territory after the evaporation of the Israeli state need to bend the knee to whatever Palestinian state exists. He says he wants it to be secular, but we all know that it's going to be theocratic. if it was to ever happen. And then we also know that it's going to involve like the deaths of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Israelis during the destruction of the state of Israel. So, you know, it's not a moderate position. So to be inviting that guy to your event, then defending said guy by kicking out liberal streamers while wearing a keffiyeh is kind of like, And he's the vice president of the organization. He's the vice president of the national level CDA. So there's only one more person more powerful than the guy that kicked Destiny out. So one guy or girl. So that is a part of it that I find worrisome.
Very valid ammunition. And doing that, you're not,
well, hold on.
you're not
Wick,
endorsing.
you can correct me if I'm wrong. Wick, your point was, maybe you could make that point. I know you think that, but your tweet was, the Democrats, or sorry, Kyle Kalinske and the Progressive Victory people are working hand in hand with Trump to destroy the Democratic Party. That was your tweet.
Leftists in general. I think I said they, right? And the
Yeah,
they being.
but and in making this point, you are working hand in hand with Fox News. That's my like.
I would
come
rather
on, man.
work hand in hand with Fox News than hand in hand with Trump. Yes. But I think that look.
But what
again,
if we work with
simply-
neither
hold
of
on,
these
just real
people?
quick. Hold on. Me quote tweeting an article that was on Fox News is not working with them. It's drawing attention to say, hey, this is a Republican news outlet, right? A very right-leaning news outlet that is posting this stuff that Kyle Kalinske, Chevrolet, all these other people are saying, right? Where they're connected to Democratic politicians. Was Ro Khanna in that chat? I forget.
Ro Khanna was there, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And so
That's
this
kind of
is
crazy
drawing
that Ro
attention to
Khanna
the
was
fact
there.
that the Republicans are going to use this
Wait, why was
as
it crazy?
ammo against us, and it's going to be harder to win. Absolutely, that's the argument. But me, again, you quote tweeting Fox News is not supporting Fox News. Is just pointing out to my audience and to everyone who sees it, this is what Fox News is doing, and how better to do
replace
that
all
than
these
quote
arguments.
tweeting.
Replace all these arguments with Hasan retweeting Nick Fuentes, or what was his name? Did Neera Tanden do this too?
I don't give a shit
Like,
who Hasan retweets.
This is
right?
the same
Or
thing as
quote
what I'm saying.
tweets.
You're allowed to criticize Kyle Kalinske, like, you know, voter, not disenfranchisement. What's the word I'm looking for? Apathy. When he's like, oh, you know, not endorsing Kamala, bullshit, right? Like, I don't think you can't criticize Kyle Kalinske. I think using Fox News and like these like drawn up narratives of, oh my God, like the left is calling, and it's, you look and it's like, oh, Kyle Kalinske saying that like MAGA insane fascist regime, which they
he
are.
wasn't just saying MAGA. He was saying the government in general. Democrats are complicit. And Chevrolet has said shit like that before, too. You have to look at the context, right? You have to look at what these people have said in the past. You have to look at what the people were saying now. It wasn't just MAGA, right? It's if it was just MAGA, ever, right? But they're going on everyone. These people are absolutely the people who say there is no difference or too little difference between the right and the left. Democrats are complicit. The establishment is basically cucked to MAGA, right? It's
I think Kyle
crazy,
Kalinske for sure would include like the Biden administration in that rhetoric.
He's definitely say Biden. We called him like, he Joe, right?
Yes. They all did, yeah, obviously. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, like one of my.
All right, I need some Israel-Palestine experts here. Okay. So somebody was saying that they believed it was a Jewish talit, which is a fringed Jewish prayer shawl draped over the shoulders during morning prayers, Shabbat and high holy days. Its four corners hold tzitzit, twined and knotted tassels, which serve as a physical reminder of God's commandments. Traditionally made of wool or cotton, they often feature striped patterns. Okay. Now, here's a picture of the guy. He's wearing it draped across his shoulders like a talit, but then when I look at the pattern, it's black and white. And so when I look at Palestinian keffiyeh, the Palestinian keffiyeh is a black and white. So, you know, can some Middle Eastern, North African, Eastern Mediterranean cultural experts weigh in? Because I am. Is it a talit? And he's a devoted Jew? Is he wearing a keffiyeh? Or is he wearing a keffiyeh as a talit? You know? I don't. What is happening? I'm so scared and confused. I don't know which Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East, and North African fucking tradition we're trying to follow.
One of my issues with you, Soypill, is you strawman a lot.
One of my issues.
Yes, I have a couple. Okay, first of all,
Oh, by the way, I have
first
to
of all,
go in
you're
8
just
minutes,
too
by the way, to
handsome,
go see
man.
the
It's
Odyssey.
crazy.
Just FYI.
What's up?
I got to go in 8 minutes. I got tickets to the
Oh,
Odyssey.
sure. I'll be quick.
Typical
then we'll stick
Soypill
to one.
running when it would just when he gets an ounce of accountability.
True.
I didn't have to hop in.
Running like he always does, this guy.
But let me get this point out, is that you often will rephrase people's statements and arguments in a way that it's not what's being said, and you do it to either run cover or sweep for bad actors, or you do it to attack people who are just being reasonable. And in this case, you are, I feel, sweeping for Kyle Kalinske, Chevrolet, and all these leftist illiberal arsonists by really just reframing what they actually said to be much more palatable. And I don't like that. It's annoying.
I think the Chevrolet stuff is a lot less defensible, and we're conflating a lot of stuff when she says, like, America, which the group she founded, that's like, oh, I support the downfall of Western civilization. Like, you have to twist yourself into pretzels to see that as anything other than like what it really is, which is, I want so much radical change that isn't going to happen that maybe I'm calling for some sort of revolution, right? Versus Kyle Kalinske saying, oh, MAGA's full and fascist. I'm rock hard. Let's stop these people. I don't think it's sweeping to say that Kyle will go so far as to say Democrats enable this if they vote for, I don't know, the war, or if they fail to stop it. I don't think he's calling. I think that's silly. And I think Fox News is yeah.
He said that America is becoming the Fourth Reich. I mean that's pretty. I think you're doing the thing right now that Whick is complaining about, where you're kind of sanitizing what he said.
He thinks America's coming to the Fourth Reich. You don't think he's specifically referencing Trump and his, like, that's the shit I say.
I don't think I think he's including like the
false earth materialist has the most direct answer in chat so far of, it's a Gafia source, I'm racist. Now, Rodney Hobbs says, according to Connor, the Dems need to yell "be normal" at a random crowds. Yeah, unironically, it's this clip, okay? This is what I want the liberals and the Democrats to do to the leftists. Why can't you just be normal? Screams.
In his mind, establishment Democrats and that. But I'd have to watch the full thing. I had it queued up. I haven't watched it. But just from that clip, it didn't seem like it was surgically targeted at Trump.
Yeah, and to be clear, I only saw the clip, and I quote tweeted it. Right? I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But in that clip, that being played around, absolutely, it sounds like he's just, everyone's included in that. America in general. He doesn't say MAGA.
Don't think Kyle's everyone in America and the American regime. I think he's talking about MAGA. But hey, look, I'm open to being wrong. It's been a while since I saw the panel. So if you show me a clip and I'm like, all right, this seems a little more like upplaying like how bad Democrats are to, like, make people hate Democrats. Yeah, I'm open to this. I'll be back in 3.5 hours after this Nolan.
Are you seeing it in IMAX or no?
What? Rich Hutch, you know how much I donate to you? I can't afford IMAX.
Wait, are you, bro? Look at your YouTube channel. You're doing fine. You're getting those sponsored. You're getting those sponsored deals. Are you really not seeing it in IMAX?
Nah. You got to book like so far ahead of time for that. I should have booked Dune tickets like 2 months ago.
That's crazy. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I would refund the ticket and get an IMAX ticket. Yes, I would.
It's fine. I'll watch Tom Holland's neck. That's all I need to see. Yeah. Find me the clip play it for me, and I'll let's see if I change my mind.
Hold on,
I
you
got
didn't
the
even
clip
see
queued up here,
before
actually.
You came at my neck.
All right, guys, we are now
No,
joined.
I
Were you came
remember
at
the
me?
clip. I remember the clip, and I think even given all the rhetoric, still the promoting of the Fox News thing is like you can do this without promoting Fox News, or at least being a little more careful with
Okay,
how you're
then,
promoting
man.
Fox News.
The tweet police are here. Okay, ACAB includes the tweet police. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But
This
anyway,
is the logic, though. This is the logic of saying, like, you know who criticizes me as well? Like, groypers. Do you want to be seen as like aligning with the gripe? It's like too optics pilled for me. It's like the worst kind of argument that you can make. You know, the fact that Fox News tweeted something, that alone, like, quote retweeting what they said, that's not the issue. Like, the issue would be if they said something that was incorrect. But in that Fox News post, what they said was correct, and so I think
it's dishonestly framed. America bashed its disgusting fascist regime. True, America right now is a disgusting fascist regime. I agree with this, but they're using it to condemn Saeed and Cory
The
Bush.
Trump administration is crazy, but to say that America is wrong, and it's harmful, and it's going to cost us votes.
Whick, who's running America?
But you don't understand. If you conflate America with the current administration running it, it does a lot of harm to America. America will exist long after the Trump administration's in the dirt.
I agree that we're better than this rhetoric helps, but the idea that like saying, "Oh my God, we're being run by a bloodthirsty fascist regime right now," and conflating it with the country that is doing the actions because we voted for it and these people are in power, I
want
don't
to
think
give
this is like the tone policing that we need right now. Like,
It's not. Hold on. Whoa, you coming at me for tone policing, retweeting, like tone policing me, retweets? What's going on?
I'm saying it's America. It's like, well, actually, it's just the current America is tone policing, and I'm saying now you're amplifying like Fox News aggressive like spins on what I would consider a more reasonable thing to say.
Go see your movie. Enjoy your Odyssey.
Okay. Does he make it? No spoilers.
all right, boys, good job.
All right. Now, something that people said is like, oh, well, we're just over here treating symptoms, but we're not diagnosing the disease. And I think that, weirdly enough, P.F. Young is the person who diagnosed the disease, that we are contending with wealth inequality, rapid demographic change, existential technological shifts, and the dissolution of the social fabric. And so trying to contend with all of that is extremely difficult. And as a result, yeah, I think that's why people are lost, right? I think that's why people are lost and angry and all that kind of stuff, is just because of the wealth inequality, rapid demographic change, existential technological shifts, and dissolution of the social fabric. And B for Brian says, Hutch is like a more educated Connor. God, I wish I could strangle you through this fucking computer. Dude, I literally I'm bilingual. I went through the French lycée system. I was in AP gifted honors throughout the entirety of my academic career. I went to an okay college and got my bachelor's. I have a shitload of historical education because I did the Great Courses series on fucking Audible. You butt fucking son of a bitch. Like, fuck you. Anyways, rolling right into the lib left civil war. Okay, so this is going to be a part of the same segment, right? We're going to roll into it's finally catching up to him, because I think there's more commentary from Asmongold about the situation. Just summarizing it in case you're coming in. The College Democrats of America hosted an event. They had Hasan Piker as an opening speaker. Hasan Piker showed up dressed as Chairman Mao and did a bunch of like left-wing economic sloppy list, socialist dog whistle fucking talking points. Destiny and his orbiters tried to attend the event. That way, hopefully, they would get to ask him some tough questions from the audience. A guy, we haven't, in my opinion, we haven't really determined whether or not the vice president of the College Democrats of America was wearing a keffiyeh or a Jewish talit. Now, the coloring is 100% a keffiyeh, but he was wearing it over his shoulders like a talit. So I'm still waiting for an Eastern Mediterranean, textiles expert to weigh in on whether or not it was a keffiyeh or a talit. So what was this guy, a Jew, or was this guy a Palestinian? You know, like I don't. What kind of loyalty was he trying to express through his exterior garb and dress? Now, apparently, Asmongold does have some more additional commentary in reference to this drama. We're going to roll right into it. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. My parasocial love you. Thank you for being here. And thank you to Old School and Fell Runner for kicking us off with super chats today. Appreciate you. Let's go.
Destiny talking about me. Uh-oh, here we go. Things that happened, like the thing that happened on Saturday, where he goes to an event, Destiny goes to the event, Destiny isn't led into the event because he's in the event.
Can I just say how fucking ironic it was that fucking loser at the front was like, well, we're not going to let you guys in because you might cause a scene or you might cause a commotion or blah, 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 whatever. But Hasan decides to show up in a fucking Mao suit and then give a...
Queeman says, I'm hearing North got no play at the sex cult meetup, and personally, I hold you responsible. You know what? That's fair, Queeman. That's fair. If I had taken more of a mentorship relationship with North, it's going to be one of my great regrets. One of my great regrets of Twitch and YouTube politics is I did not mentor North sufficiently. I didn't get him lifting weights. I didn't get him, hitting on women. And as a result, I've lost him to the people who jack off to kids. It is, it's one of my great regrets of Twitch and YouTube politics.
Speech that's now like ricocheting all across the
I could have been a better internet older brother.
fucking internet, that everybody is like seizing on this to look at how fucking insane and unhinged and crazy this organization has become. It's like, and I was the one that was supposed to cause the trouble. Okay, chief.
Insane. Like, this is a
He's right.
public event that
He's
concerns
right.
both of you. Keep in mind that Hasan is literally trying to get a restraining order to avoid accountability for the exact same thing that he complains to and he criticizes me for. Is that he criticizes me constantly that I won't go out and debate and argue with people and go to these events. I have no interest in doing any of this, by the way. I don't like doing it. That's just, it's always the way it's been, right? But he tries to attack me that way. But meanwhile, at the same time, not only is he not going to do that with Destiny, but he's trying to maliciously use the justice system to enforce a safe space so he never gets confronted with any ideals that he disagrees with.
True.
That's a problem.
True.
Right? It's a double standard.
True.
It's maliciously, yeah, exactly. Restraining orders is another thing we're known for, is according to Shopping His Dog. Yeah, I think so too. And what is this here?
Unserious.
Both people, Destiny and Hasan, are incredibly problematic people to the platform. Destiny has a lot of accusations of people for doing things, and I don't really even know if they're true or
Uh-oh.
not. But there's like clips of him talking about, like saying the N-word. Like Destiny has a lot of baggage, is really what my point is, and so does Hasan. Hasan has.
Don't even try to deny this. Don't even try to act like this.
A huge amount of baggage. Like, both of them are optically problematic. Like, and they are extremely optically problematic. I would even argue, in my opinion, that they are both more optically problematic than I am. Like, with some of the accusations that have been made about the two of them, that's like infinitely worse than anything that I've ever said.
Separating the personal from the professional. Okay, separating the personal from the professional. If Asmongold wants to say, on a personal level, Destiny has engaged in, bad behavior that makes him optically toxic, and therefore a ton of people refuse to collaborate with him, that's true. And then if you want to go with Hasan Piker with, the brothel and the 9/11 comments and the Hezbollah comments and the this and the that, cumulatively the terrorist simping, the dating the porn stars, the brothel stuff, the maybe having sex with Michael Jackson's daughter when she was 17, I think he has a substantial amount of baggage. Now, I think the reason why Asmongold doesn't have any personal baggage is because he's so gross that he's only had 2 girlfriends in the entirety of his life. So, that's why he's not as personally problematic. But I would say that the whole thing where it's like vast swaths of American citizens are anchor baby anti-American pieces of shit, and therefore it has to be the priority of the next right-wing government to denaturalize and deport tens of millions of Americans. I think that's going to be pretty problematic for a substantial amount of people. That's yeah, I think that's fair.
It's not even close.
It's such a strange
Am I wrong, though?
thing for this.
I think that where we're at politically, that might actually be true, I think.
Okay. Okay. All right, good.
They're all accusations, by the way. I'm not saying any of these things are true. It seems like, by the way, it seems like if Destiny did do something that was really bad, a guy who's been on the internet for over 15 years, you'd have something worse than like a few Discord logs that are dubious from 2012. Like, I will say that, like, I'm not going to go out on a limb and accuse a guy of doing something when it's like, okay, this is like some random fucking post, right? Discord, Skype, or whatever.
Asmongold says a lot of crazy shit, but it's kind of in line with all of the MAGA stuff. It really is. Yeah, I don't know.
A real force to be.
Yeah, I say crazy stuff, but most people seem to agree with it. That's and also like and what my point is that like whenever you have accusations of like personal bad behavior, that's separate than like a political viewpoint, right? It is, and that's they're on different spectrums, right?
With within the liberal Democratic Party, when the Democrats don't want anything to do.
Well, if it wasn't true, then why are you spending so much time talking about him?
True.
Why are you afraid of debating him? And why do you want to excommunicate him from events that you're going to be at because you're afraid he'll confront you?
True. And even the debate, it's not like he has to debate me. I doubt we're ever going to have a conversation. But like the idea of like he can't.
I think that there will come a time where Hasan will acquiesce and will capitulate and he will negotiate and talk to Destiny. I think it will happen. I do. And the reason why I think it will happen is because it will be good content and there will be a situation like I can't say the reason why I think it's going to happen, but I can abbreviate it where I think that there will be a problem. And if Hasan continues going down the path that he's going, I think that he will get, like, I don't know if he's going to get deplatformed, but, like, there's going to be something problematic that will happen to him, like, institutionally. I think that this will happen, and I think this will affect his career in a big way. If he continues going down the path that he's going right now, like, you have, like, for example, like, he recently framed a newspaper article of, like, the day after 9/11.
Uh-oh. That was the other segment that I have. I have it right here. Oh, no. Yeah. Just a little preview. So Hasan Piker got in trouble a few years back for saying, fuck it, I'm going to say it, America deserved 9/11. And then I think QT Cinderella found an original newspaper from 9/12/2001 and gifted it to him as a meme gift. And then he framed it just within the past week, I think. Just within the past few days. 16 hours ago. He framed it and hung it up on his wall. So now, the guy who said America deserved 9/11 due to geopolitical fucking blowback has a fucking framed picture of 9/12/2001. Of the World Trade Center attacks. And by the way, I don't think he's changed his mind about the argument. I think he sincerely believes that that we deserved 9/11 for geopolitical blowback due to our interactions with fucking the Middle East and North Africa. And so as a result, you basically just have a terrorist simp with a trophy of a terrorist attack in the fucking background. I don't know what to do with that. It's pretty goddamn bad. So,
you don't need to, like, what are you doing, right? Like, how is this helping your cause? How are you going to say that, like, I just want free healthcare and then frame a newspaper article about 9/11? You see what I'm saying? So that's the kind of stuff that, like, I think that he is flying increasingly closer to the sun, and eventually he is going to go over the line with this, and it's going to be, I think, very problematic. And I think he's getting really close to it already. And somebody, you link this here? Yeah. Is this... Jesus, bro. Like, I really just can't, like, yeah, I can't get away from this clip. Give me 1 second. Okay. Is that he's trying to avoid things
also,
that happen,
you might have noticed
I'm so annoyed about this audio, sorry. You might have noticed the change behind me.
The Cutie Cinderella newspaper from 9/11, the morning of 9/12, the newspaper right there.
the newspaper that covered 9/11. It's now officially sitting behind me.
And I mean, and this is right next to, by the way, a photo of the Queen Elizabeth with her eyes crossed out. I mean, this is detestable. It's detestable. It's off-putting. It's weird. Somebody sees, like, you see something like this, it's weird, man. It's just weird to do this. It's deranged. And I think that he is, I think he's edging closer to this, right? And as with a lot of like kind of extremism behavior, I think that once it starts accelerating, you know, it's like things begin to like gain momentum. It's an overperformance. Yeah, you're totally overplaying this.
Moved the North Korean poster up in place of the fan art.
Uh-huh.
We're going to find a new place to put all the fan art.
Nothing will happen to him. Nothing happened to Alex Jones until he got deplatformed on every single place in one day overnight. Nothing happened until everything happened instantaneously. Like, he got deplatformed on and he got sued. Yeah, exactly.
Don't you worry. Okay. But in any case.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Asmongold did steal another mini segment from me, but that's perfectly okay. I'm okay with commenting on this right now. Listen, so let's say that let's try to steelman the left-wing geopolitical analysis real quick, which is that the Israelis invaded Lebanon, and weirdly enough, from 77 to 83, this was actually a part of the GDF geopolitical video that we watched the other day. Ronald Reagan was so repulsed by Menachem Begin's, or whatever that guy's name is, actions in Western Lebanon, that he was pressuring him publicly and privately for a ceasefire the entire time, was saying that the civilian casualties that he was incurring in Lebanon were unacceptable, and that he needed to withdraw his forces as quickly as possible. And that was the American role in Lebanon, was trying to get the fucking Israelis to stop killing so many goddamn civilians. And then the United States 7th Fleet oversaw the withdrawal of Israeli defense forces from Lebanon by arguably deploying a fleet in order to make sure that it was militarily stable, and then deployed peacekeepers into Lebanon that then died. Okay? That was part of Osama bin Laden's justification for the 9/11 2001 terrorist attacks. So, by inverse, in order to make this equivalent, I would have to go live in Lebanon as somebody who was American, born in Lebanon, but then moved back to America. Then I would have to be a Lebanese streamer, and then I would have to have in the back a news article about the Sabra and Shatila massacre. And I would have to justify that the Sabra and Shatila massacre were justified because of, I don't know, pre-Hezbollah actions against the nation state of Israel. Because of rocket attacks and terrorism, I would have to say, oh yeah, the Sabra and Shatila massacre were based. And then I would have to have a fucking poster of the news story about Sabra and Shatila in the fucking background. This is psychotic. This is psychotic. And the only reason why the Democrats or the lefties tolerate this shit is because they've been injecting themselves with America bad propaganda for fucking decades. This is where, like, you know what, once again, like, I've made this clear in the past, but if the future of the Democratic Party, you know, people are like, oh, be a Democrat, be a Democrat, be a Democrat. You know, stop caring about guns. Stop caring about gun control. Stop caring about, you know, it sounds like you support some social welfare reforms anyways. It sounds like you like some mixed economy capitalism and welfare systems anyways. Well, the Democrats are going to do that more. So you should just be a Democrat. As long as you tolerate this, fuck you, is my answer. There's no fucking way that I would ever be a part of any political coalition that sweeps for, sanitizes, is a part of, and injects this shit into their mainstream discourse. Fuck Hasan. Fuck his political ilk. Fuck his side of politics. Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely the fuck not.
Case, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs, that's a PSA 10, by the way. That 9/11 poster, or not the 9/11 news article, is a PSA 10.
Yeah, there you go, right? And so this is exactly what somebody like this would do, right? And has been telling this guy's evil for a while, claiming it wasn't a Temu Mal cosplay. This is a direct quote. Oh yeah, I'll see if I can find this in a minute, and I haven't seen this yet. Let me look at it. So drops a Maoist dog whistle.
That it is our job to always seek truth from facts.
Yeah, I mean he's flying.
Black terrorism happens to us all the time. The flattening of the term terrorism is fucking so. I hate it. I hate it with every fucking fiber of my goddamn being. Police brutality is not terrorism, bro. Police brutality is not terrorism. And the more you guys flatten violent concepts, the more you make it likely that the state should just engage in whatever fucking violence it wants to. That's really what you're doing. You think that you're setting yourself free by flattening state violence down into terrorism, but what you're really doing is you're setting a moral pretext to the state to not have to follow any fucking rules whatsoever. And it's such a mind-numbingly stupid way to perceive reality. I don't even know what to fucking do about it. I truly do not know. How, like, there's smart lefties who say it. There's dumb lefties who say it. I don't know what to fucking do with you. If you don't morally differentiate slaughtering civilians from state institutions that have, like, rules of engagement, escalation of force, a principle of minimizing violence to the maximum degree possible, I don't know what to fucking do for you. Yeah. So should I stop saying the cops are genociding black people? I know that's probably sarcastic, but yeah. If you're saying that black people are currently enduring a genocide in America, then yeah, you should probably shut the fuck up and stop talking about politics. Jesus Christ.
Really, really close to the sun. He is. And I think that he is one mishap away from getting deplatformed. Like, and let me just add everything together, right? You have a person who has gone on record and said that it is a lesser of two evils that white women get raped. You've said that America deserved 9/11. And in a vacuum, and if that's the only thing that you had said, and you were just a typical Democrat, you could easily say that and play that off and say that, like, American imperialism caused destabilization of the Middle East.
You guys are... I don't know what fucking world you live in. I don't know what world you live in. Documented lynchings in the United States. Documented lynchings show that thousands of unlawful executions took place in the United States, with the majority tracking compiled by the NAACP, the Tuskegee Institute, and the Equal Justice Initiative. These organizations recorded thousands of racial terror deaths targeted African Americans between the Civil War and the mid-20th century. Total numbers. The NAACP recorded 4,783 total lynchings between 1882 and 1968, of which 73% involved black victims. Geographic peaks. Mississippi recorded 581 lynchings, Georgia 531, and Texas recorded 493 during the 1882 to 1968 tracking period. Okay, so lynchings in the United States. Jim Crow era, the New Ku Klux Klan, justifications of lynchings, Mississippi Delta region, other ethnicities, spectacle lynching and racist memorabilia, African American resistance. Where's like the most recent one that I can think of that you're alluding to was one guy dying in a park. He was hung in a park and the police ruled it as a suicide And the family was like, he wasn't suicidal. And so the cops were being lazy as fuck in not investigating it, which became an accusation of lynching. That was in the past 20 years. But what the fuck are you talking about where, like, the documentation of lynchings, 1968, we're in 2026. It's been 55 fucking years since, like, the peak of lynching, and since then, it's dropped down by 99%. So what the fuck are we talking about? 9/11 2001 was when I was like 13 or 14. No, I deployed to Iraq because of 9/11 2001. Jihadist terrorism is infinitely more relevant to the American experience than fucking lynching. What the fuck? God damn it. You guys are frustrating as shit.
And it caused a backlash event, right? I think that people can understand that. But the problem is that you didn't just say that. Then you were also talking about like Taliban members putting their dicks in Dan Crenshaw's eye or something like that. Now you're framing a newspaper article of the day after 9/11. You're wearing a Mao's, huh? Yeah, he got banned for that. He got suspended for that one. And that was not a good one, right? Oh yeah, saying to kill Rick Scott. Tweeting out the picture of the gun used to kill Shinzo Abe, and this is bad. Let me see if I can find it. And I don't think he understands this, because like Hasan, and this is the issue, right? Is that he's this is a new one. This just happened today, right? He's been insulated from a lot of consequences for doing a lot of these things, right? Like an average person, like if you tweet out the schematic of a gun used to assassinate a politician at a politician that you disagree with, it's very obvious that you're baiting people into assassinating that politician. That's very clearly what you're trying to do. And so then you have, now there's also the Cuba thing, and you're getting investigated theoretically by the government. This is like, this is really gaining a lot of momentum here, right? And now you're dressing up as Mao Zedong, you're quoting him, etc. This can't keep going on. Like you can't keep doing this. Like eventually, like I can guarantee you that advertisers are complaining about this. I can guarantee you that there is a point where the dam breaks and a person like this gets deplatformed everywhere. And so that's really what happens. This is the other tweet. Destiny actually went over it, and I'll look at it and see it, right? Not soon enough. And that's what I think is going to happen. And I'm saying this as somebody, like, I don't really want, if you want me to be honest, like, it's beneficial for me that Hasan is on the platform because it gives me content to talk about and it's something to do, right? And it brings more people into the ecosystem. So, like, from a very selfish personal perspective, like, I don't even want to see Hasan get banned. Now, as viewers, I can see why people don't like Hasan. They don't want to see Hasan. But my point is that, like, I'm not even advocating for this. What I'm saying is that if you don't watch yourself, I think he is going to get banned. I think that you are flying way too close to the sun with this kind of stuff. This is very, very, very problematic. I think it's incredibly dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. And you had today, so this is what happened. Hasan Piker, last July, Hasan Piker was publicly praising the effectiveness of menacing politicians. 3 months later, one of his fans followed his advice and was arrested shortly afterwards in this unsealed federal indictment. So this is what he said.
874 Bellevue Drive, and I'm gonna kill you with my AR-15. Like that's the type of messages they were leaving in this dude's office, and he's resigning. Like he's literally, this is his last term. So I think that people are a lot more.
So he's basically saying that, like, all of the death threats and the people threatening to kill this politician or this person, now this person's resigning, and this is like, and there's like a cheering, right? There's people cheering for this. So this is the problem, right? Is that you do have, today, I guess, there was something that came out where apparently somebody who committed a crime was a fan of his, and it looks really, really bad. I mean, like, I don't think he understands how bad this looks.
United States District Court versus Blake Govia. Criminal complaint. The defendant did threaten to assault and murder ST. I don't know what that means. A member of the immediate family of a United States senator with intent to retaliate against the United States senator on account of the performance of his official duties.
So this is, I mean, like, again, like, just to translate, that means that, yeah, it's a crazy psycho that's threatening a person over political reasons.
Subject's brother, Ryan Govia, expressed that he was unsurprised that Subject would make a threatening call to a politician or politician's spouse.
Yeah.
Govia opined that Subject had anger management issues in addition to other mental health concerns. Subject spent most days isolated in his room, playing virtual reality games. Subject regularly listened to the social media influencer, Hasan Piker.
Well, well, well. Well, well, well.
Who Govia considered to have a far-left political ideology.
Isn't it crazy that, like, every time that one of his, like, fans gets exposed or something like this, there's always, like, every time that we hear about these people publicly, they're always the most deranged, unhinged, retarded animals.
Gee.
The other journalist missed one? Yeah, I wonder why that journalist that made the video, the positive video about Hasan, I wonder why he didn't find any of these people.
Subject's stepfather, Dallas Weatherington, also expressed that he was unsurprised by Subject threatening to kill a politician's spouse to the behavior Subject regularly displayed.
So it's not even a politician themselves, it's the spouse. This is what I was saying before about how these people are terrorists.
Around the household. It's crazy that, like, Taylor Lorenz and Hasan all supported that, like, making death threats. You see Hasan has made the threats. He's, like, posted the pictures of the gun and shit and talked about, like, the Rick Scott memes and everything else. And then you have, like, people in his audience. This isn't even the first one, right? We had that news article before of that Hasan Piker fan.
Calling in a bomb threat. Yeah.
This guy?
And it was not just, it was, and Destiny, I don't know if he's up to date with this, but that same person that was arrested for calling in a bomb threat was recently on Hasan's stream in the last week. So it's not like this person was excommunicated from their community at all. No, they were continually allowed in.
Looks like he's got credentials.
Hi, are you the guy?
Yeah.
Back, good to meet you guys. Nice to meet you.
What's going on?
There you go, Marsh, good to meet you. Marsh, here you guys go.
Whoa. Okay.
Let's
go. Do you happen to have...
There he is.
Do you happen to have a tote bag or something?
Not a good one.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Oh, you don't want to carry all that around the whole time?
Well,
a Michigan man has been charged with making terrorist threats in Illinois.
Defending Hasan real quick. I think there is a clip going around of a event organizer that they're claiming is Hasan Piker hanging out with a criminal a second time. And that clip has been shown to be somebody who attended the CDA event and is actually like a CDA fundraiser or something like that. So that is not the same person. But there was somebody that Hasan Piker was hanging out with who basically did get charged with what they're talking about. Now, of course, like, you don't control your fans. But what Asmongold has pointed out, as much as I'm reticent to agree with Asmongold, is the fact that, like, when you cultivate an army of schizos, when you do stochastic calls for, you know, violence or deplatforming or whatever, some of them are going to take action, obviously. And right now, I'm trying to give Rodney Hobbs, I'm trying to mind map it rather than crashing the fuck out. I would like to crash the fuck out, but I'm going to try to actually mind map what the fuck we're talking about. Also, quick chill, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got it, memberships if you got it, my parasocial, love you. Thank you so much for being generous on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If you're tapped out, no big deal. I understand. You know, payday was a few days ago, so you might have blown your wad. Lord knows I spent too much money in the past couple of days. But if you do have money for chips or oils, it is appreciated. So, anyways.
This was published on September 9th of 2025. Police say the threats caused many businesses to close early. I just hope that, like, if it finally happens, if something does happen with one of these people, I hope that Twitch falls for it. Like, I hope the fact that they keep in mind they preemptively, like, perma-banned ICE from everything, just because
ICE should have never been banned. I can understand them suspending him for a while because of the airport thing, out of, like, a legal liability thing. But, like, I mean, he should be unbanned. I should be unbanned. Destiny should be unbanned. Like, it's retarded.
just because the threats and everything, because they thought ICE Poseidon was too much of a liability.
Asian
but, like, Hasan is
Andy
out
should
here,
be
like,
unbanned.
And it's not. It's like so stupid because if one of his fans does like haul off and murder somebody, people are gonna look back and they'll be like, "Where were the signs?" And it's like, okay, well, he was tweeting out makeshift weapons that were used to assassinate the Japanese prime minister. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know, what were the real signs?
He was watching terrorist propaganda on stream saying that these people were based. Yeah.
Well, you know, where were the real signs?
Yeah. He was on a podcast with another guy saying that even baby settlers were valid military targets.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He was justifying every form of resistance against oppressive fascist forces. Yeah. He refused to disavow violence on his side at any time.
To be honest, I feel like a streamer or political content creator isn't necessarily responsible whenever their followers commits an act of terrorism. If it was me or Destiny's community doing it, I would agree with you. But if it's Hasan's community, I wouldn't. The reason why is because Hasan actively encourages it and Destiny and I don't. Neither does, you know, like Hutch. Neither does David Pacman. Neither does Ben Shapiro. So whenever you're the one, whenever you're telling people to do something, it's different than whenever somebody does something.
And saying that all forms of resistance are justified. Like, oh shit. Actually, wait a second. This was the most obvious fucking radicalization event ever. It was actually the most obvious thing in the universe. It was actually the most foreseeable thing fucking ever. Who would have guessed? Yeah, the Ela comment and everything else. And then these fucking losers, and then, I'm sorry, generally he's an ally, but I'll call him out for it. I'm sorry. The spineless fucks like XQC, who are too lazy to read anything, will look at my comment in chat and go, well, actually, I think Destiny, it doesn't matter what the context is. Destiny's making death threats. Fuck off, fucking loser. If you don't have anything to say, if you're not even gonna fucking look at the video, if you're not even gonna watch the context.
I mean, I think it's not great that he said that either, right? I mean, I feel like, yeah, I understand the context. I've seen the context. It's not great that Destiny said that. It's on the spectrum of bad, but it's not even nearly as bad as the other stuff.
Like, it gives such a free pass to all of these fucking lunatics.
Yeah.
It's just so fucking cringe because, God, dude, if I hope I don't get killed by one of these motherfuckers. Because if I do, no one is even going to make him answer for it. No one is going to look at all this shit and be like, oh, that was a crazy guy. And then fucking retards like the Soy fucking loser and Pisco the fucking loser are going to be saying, well, there's no way that he could have actually known. Not the poor man that was upheld at TSA for 16 minutes. There's no way that we could have ever known that Hasan was being radicalized while TSA pulled over for extensive 16-minute interrogation questions where Hasan volunteered up a whole bunch of unnecessary information and literally nothing fucking happened to him. There's no way that anybody could have called him out. It's actually so fun. The funny thing is that I don't even have to hate him on like a political level. I just hate him on a personal level. I have enough reason to personally hate him. And I think anybody would understand. The guy that calls you a pedophile 24/7, the guy that like doxes and harasses people constantly. All right, that's all good.
That's crazy.
What a depressing state of affairs, bro.
So another Hasan viewer has now been, arrested for threatening to kill the spouse of, or hurt or harm or something, the spouse of a senator. So of the immediate family of a United States senator, has anger management and other mental health concerns. They spend most of their days in their room playing virtual reality video games, and the subject regularly listened to social media influencer Hasan Piker. That is not a good chain of analysis, right? It's really not. It's a very bad one. And so it's a new low. I don't know if it's a new low, but it's another low. I'll tell you that. So David Pacman, this is this guy, and by the way, the continual crash out of all of the left-wing people, by the way, David Pacman pushes back on the far-left extremists infiltrating the Democratic Party. So this guy, I have
Watch the whole video. Listen to the whole segment before you send me hate mail. You know.
Okay. So, David Pacman is, he is your traditional milquetoast liberal Democrat. He is. I've known of David Pacman for over 10 years. I've watched his videos on and off. I can't really say that I'm mainly a fan. I would say I disagree with a lot of the things that he says. But, David Pacman is an American. He is. He's an American. And, even he's realizing what's happening to the Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party is showing the early signs of the same disease that destroyed the Republican Party. I've got so many friends on the left texting me and saying, David, we're not going to allow the same thing to happen on the left that Trump did to MAGA.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm over here making my police brutality, terrorism, it was routine for black cities to get wiped out. Rodney Hobbs mind map over here. And meanwhile, I didn't realize that David Pakman was going to be fucking based. Let's go. Let's go. Listen, I do hope the Democrats wake up a little bit. It's not that I don't expect you to rely on these people for an electoral coalition. You're going to have to say, yeah, I don't agree with the Palestinian protesters completely, but I think we need a two-state solution and peace and dignity for all the Palestinian people, and I think it needs to be an administrative priority due to the injustice that the Palestinians have suffered over the past, 100 years, right? And you're going to have to piss off some Jewish people, but hopefully you still appeal to the pragmatic Jewish people, and as a result, you can push for a two-state solution while throwing some red meat to the Palestinian people. That's not a fucking problem for me. What is a problem for me is politicians who are going to be elected in order to be representatives within the Democratic Party saying, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. We need to annihilate the state of Israel. It's like probably not a realistic, technocratic political choice that is going to reward the right parts of the Democratic coalition. And nor do I think that LARPing as Mao Zedong while doing a bunch of fucking socialist LARPing fucking talking points, nor do I think that's good for your fucking party. I think the amount of people who will be motivated by the right wing and motivated as independents in order to fight far left schizo fucking pieces of shit like Hasan Piker is probably more than you're going to gain from the fucking catering to the far lefties. So I'm hoping that David Pakman gets listened to, but I am worried for the future of the Democratic Party. I am. So anyways, Rodney Hobbs made a couple of statements in chat that I want to differentiate categorically, but I am open to feedback from the chat. So he stated that black Americans suffer domestic terrorism all the time. And I looked up the definition for terrorism, which is terrorism is the deliberate use of violence or the threat of violence to instill fear, coerce a government or civilian population, and further political, social, or ideological objectives. I added the word unlawful because when you looked at the sub-definitions of domestic terrorism and of international terrorism, they included the concept of unlawful, and I think unlawful needs to be added in order to differentiate. Because the use of violence, well, law enforcement uses violence all the time in order to coerce a civilian population that furthers social and ideological objectives. But I would say maintaining civil order, like deterring burglary and deterring and punishing burglary, or deterring and punishing murder, or deterring and punishing theft, are lawful pro-social uses of violence in order to coerce a civilian population into a political objective. So, yeah, if you're saying like arresting a shoplifter and lynching a black guy are the same thing, I don't know. Once again, I don't know what the fuck to do for you categorically. I really don't know what to do about that. So, black Americans suffer domestic terrorism all the time. Well, I'm trying to rack my brain for unlawful deliberate uses of violence or threats of violence to instill fear in order to coerce, in this case, a civilian population in order for their political, social, and ideological objectives. And I think lynchings 100% qualify. As we looked up, they basically they were tracked until 1968, and then they've been so sparse since that I'm sure there's documented cases of lynching in the United States of America, but they're reduced by 99%, right? Cross burnings, again, I'm sure they've reduced by 99%, but I'm sure they still happen. KKK murders, I'm sure they're reduced by 99%, but they still happen. The assassination of Fred Hampton. Now, weirdly enough, that was done by law enforcement, but according to the way that the ballistics played out, and the way that Fred Hampton, like all the witnesses talked about Fred Hampton being assassinated, I actually do think that was an extra legal vigilante killing. And I would be okay with the assassination of Fred Hampton by law enforcement being categorized as a terrorist act. Because it was based off of the available evidence that I've reviewed, it's unlawful. The assassination of MLK, 100% an act of terrorism. The assassination of Malcolm X, 100%. Well, I don't know who killed out Malcolm X. I thought it was like more, I thought it was Hoteps. I thought it was more hardcore, you know, black nationalists. But I don't know. But if it was politically motivated, it's still violence in order to coerce a civilian population into a political or ideological objective. So I'll leave Malcolm X in there as well. Now, it was routine for black cities to get wiped out. I can think of the Tulsa massacre and the Move bombing. So if you're saying routine, number one, the Move bombing wasn't a fucking city. It was like a couple of blocks that were set on fire. And then the Tulsa massacre, 100%, was an attempt to wipe out a black community. So that's what I have for it was routine for black cities to get wiped out, but I don't think two historical examples, one of which is not definitionally accurate to what you stated, I don't think that's good evidence for your claim. And then police brutality, I put Rodney King, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, George Floyd, and Jacob Blake, because that's arguable as to whether or not law enforcement were performing their lawful duties while arresting these people. Rodney King was still alive after the fact. Jacob Blake, I think he's still alive right now. Michael Brown is dead, but that's arguable about whether or not it was justified police use of force. I think it was tactically incompetent and stupid. Eric Garner is dead, but that was a result of positional asphyxia, which, in my opinion, positional asphyxia and the rear naked choke, along with medical issues, that's more of an issue of police confidence than like terrorism, the unlawful use of violence in order to achieve an ideological or political goal. And then George Floyd, I think, is also another death by positional asphyxia, which has more to do with police incompetence than it does terrorizing the black community. So, I mean, if you guys have additional examples that I should be adding to this, that I should consider in order to bolster the statements that black Americans suffer domestic terrorism all the time and that it was routine for black cities to get wiped out, I'm happy to hear examples. Like truly, I would actually be super curious to hear additional examples of like terrorism or whatever. So, and I'll read that, Nameless Henchman, but let me go ahead and read the super chats and get back to the content. Doobie says David Packman is just thank you for the donation, by the way. Is just another Zio-Nazi who can't handle the Democratic base, has turned against Israel. This dude was saying Richie Torres is the future of the progressive left. Okay, got a little bit more liberal leftist civil war over here. Lord of the Nerds for 2 says the largest lynching in U.S. history was of Italians. Well, that was another thing that I was remiss to point out because I did want to accept the fact that lynching is a form of anti-black political terrorism. But 70% of lynchings, according to the statistics that we Googled, were against black folk, but 30% of the people were against other groups. So, yes, lynching is, in my opinion, racial terrorism, but 30% of the victims of lynching were from other groups. Doobie says the funding of Planned Parenthood is evidence of the established plan to reduce the number of black folks. The org was started for that reason. That's the most clinics are BIPOC neighborhoods. Well, yeah. What was it? Margaret Sanger, the 1910s founder of Planned Parenthood, was a eugenicist who wanted to substantially reduce the population of undesirables, and she considered black folk and people of color to be part of the populations that she wanted to reduce as her undesirables. But that's also lawful, voluntary, and non-violent. So, like, except for, you know, ripping out the fetus, that whole thing. So for me, I wouldn't classify Margaret Sanger's eugenicist efforts through Planned Parenthood to be terrorism. It can be fucked up without being terrorism. Last one before I let the content flow. Lord of the Nerds says, Tulsa started from black shooting a white outside of a police station out of fear of lynching from a newspaper article. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know about the Tulsa massacre, what happened was there was a black gentleman who was arrested. There was a white crowd gathered outside. There was a fear that the white crowd was going to lynch the black guy. So the black crowd showed up with firearms. They got into a gunfight, and I think in the initial gunfight, more whites got killed than blacks got killed. And then the whites went back. They said, hey, the blacks just killed half a dozen, white folk. We're going to go fucking get revenge. Everybody grabbed their guns. And then I think it was like 400 people got wiped out. It was pretty intense. The Tulsa Race Massacre. Tulsa Race Massacre deaths. I think it's a few hundred. So, total number of fatalities is unknown, but it's up to 300. And then 800 people were wounded. 232 were wounded. Were severely wounded. Yeah, that was pretty fucked up. That was pretty fucked up. Anyways, back to the content. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats. If you've got memberships, you've got them in Periscope. We love you. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good time. Let's go.
MAGA, that Trump and MAGA did to Republicans, are we?
Yes, you are.
Republicans, back in 2010, their leaders laughed at the Tea Party. Conspiracy theorists, they're far-right internet trolls, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, but David, you got to admit, though, it's kind of crazy that those conspiracy theories were true, right? Like, damn, like, what are the odds of that? Like, that's nuts, right? Because, like, you know, the files came out, and it's like, wow.
And then the Tea Party took over local organizations, threatened primaries, built their own media universe, and eventually were part of a process that gave us Donald Trump. The left and Democrats...
Because assholes like you wanted to deplatform them. The reason why they had to build their own media ecosystem is because you wanted people like that deplatformed.
Democrats can't make the same mistake. There is a small group of far-left extremists
They're not
gaining
small.
influence inside youth groups.
There's a lot
and
of you.
party organizations.
There are a lot of them.
Because they spend all day online organizing and enforcing ideological purity and attacking anyone who disagrees.
That's right.
Now, let me be very clear. I am not talking about people who want Medicare for all and affordable housing. I want all that stuff. I'm with all that stuff. I'm a social democrat in the style of Northern.
Didn't you know, if you want Medicare for all and you want social democratic welfare systems to help people that are underprivileged, if you want that, you have to also support Hamas and engage in terrorism. Sorry, but it's either Hamas and healthcare or no healthcare and you can be an American.
I hope our politics are a little bit more nuanced than that. They might actually not be that nuanced. It's you can love America and not have health care, or you can have health care and love Hamas and hate America. Unfortunately. Why does that feel so real? Why does that feel so real? Because, like, I do feel like if you vote left, you have to sign on to, like, a bunch of crazy shit. And it's not that the right wing isn't more fucking crazy, but if you're like a middle income white guy whose bills are paid and, you know, you're doing okay. Like, yeah, sure, the social safety net is going to be slashed and a bunch of poor people and middle class, you know, a bunch of poor people are going to get fucked over, but you can still be proud to be an American. You know, you can shoot fireworks off, you can drink beer, you can celebrate the 4th of July, you don't have to do land acknowledgements, you know. When somebody says, oh, that's racist, then you can just be like, I don't give a shit, you know. And then if you go to the left, like, you're like, maybe I do want healthcare. Maybe I do want universal access to healthcare. Maybe I do want a more robust social safety net. But then you see the most passionate advocates for a more robust social safety net cheering on terrorist orgs and preying on the downfall of the American empire. And you're just like, I don't know. I'm going to ask chat. What do you want? Hamas and healthcare or America and no healthcare? Oh, that's pretty awesome.
It's a 2-for-1.
Europe, of course I want those things. These are folks who treat political warfare like a full-time job. And when they can't...
Because they don't have...
build their own coalition, they attach themselves to popular causes. They take real concerns about...
Like a parasite does, by the way. It's exactly what I've called these people.
Healthcare, housing, police misconduct, and use them to sell what is actually an authoritarian worldview. Now, there are things in DSA, for example, Democratic Socialists of America, that are good and that I agree with. But there's also some stuff in there that I think doesn't make any sense. I saw their new platform. Promises a country where you have no debt, you pay no rent, no mortgage, you receive publicly funded housing, publicly funded retirement, food, education, energy, medicine, transportation. And it sounds incredible because it is incredible. How would they create it? Government ownership of the largest corporations and of entire industries, universal rent control, abolishing police and prisons, and abolishing the Senate and replacing our political system.
Yeah.
Some of these ideas are reasonable to a degree. For example, I support universal health care, and I've talked about 4 or 5 ways that we could get to it. I want affordable housing, and I've done a dozen interviews with housing experts on what would and wouldn't work to get us there. I support progressive taxation. We need to collect more taxes from the very rich. Voting rights have been hurt in this country. We need police reform. So there's elements of this that are great, and any social democrat...
By the way, I agree with all those things. I agree with everything he just said. Like, those are also things that I believe in and I think too.
Like me will tell you we got to do that. But you bundle it together, and this...
Police reform? Yeah. Of course I agree with police reform. Body cams are police reform because they're an extra level of accountability that now that we have it. Like, you understand that, right? Yeah.
Fantasy in which capitalism, private industry, and major parts of the government simply disappear. Most Americans don't want that. Most Americans understand that there is no way that you could impose that without extraordinary authoritarianism.
Of course you...
My one hesitation about confronting this now, and why I went back and forth, is the midterms. Publicly exposing the rot could make moderate voters think the entire Democratic Party has been infected.
Well...
But I don't think silence is really going to hide it. I saw a crazy thing from the weekend where there was a college Democrats convention, which I was actually invited to participate in, and I couldn't make it. Hasan Piker was dressed like Mao, and I guess Destiny tried to show up, and he was banned from entering allegedly because the Mao-dressed Piker didn't want him there.
Did I have to wear a body cam? I sure did. I was there at the rollout of body cams. So I went to the Law Enforcement Academy in 2015. And as a result, I was like the first generation of cops with body cameras. And the truth is, there was a lot of concern from law enforcement about body cameras. Not really because they were going to catch us like planting drugs on people or beating the shit out of people or whatever. The primary concern was it was going to catch us pooping, peeing, texting our wives or girlfriends, fucking watching podcasts while on patrol. That was the concern, right? It's the elimination of privacy for law enforcement. But the administration, and I mean the admin, like the police administrations, they didn't give a shit. They were like, if you poop on duty and the body camera captures your penis, then we'll delete that record, obviously. So the admin didn't care at all about the concerns of privacy for law enforcement officers because you're on duty for 12 hours. For 12 hours, your behavior should be beyond reproach. You should avoid all criticism for 12 hours during your work shift. And then if you want to jack it or, poop with your camera on or pick your nose or watch podcasts or whatever, then you need to fucking not do that shit during your 12-hour shift. Or you need to remember to turn on and turn off your body camera at appropriate times. You fucking dipshit. And then what ended up happening was body cameras ended up being so popular with law enforcement, with patrol, because there are people who will, if you fuck with them by pulling them over appropriately for blowing a stop sign, blowing a red light, fucking speeding, whatever, and they just have like a total Karen or God complex, they will go out of their way to try to fuck with your job. They will show up to the police department in order to file formal complaints against you. And so what was great about having the body camera was when some fucking Karen or dude with a God complex who got caught red-handed doing 30 miles over the fucking speed limit, you show the dash cam. The dash cam catches them doing 30 miles over the speed limit. The dash cam catches you pulling them over. the body camera captures your interaction where you're saying, hey, my name's Officer so-and-so. I work for this police department. Reason why I pulled you over is because you were doing, 80 and a 55. Can I have your license, registration, and proof of insurance? And then there's the video of them freaking the fuck out and being rude and shitty to you. And so as a result, those complaints get dismissed very quickly because effectively, like if the cops watch the body camera and watch the dashboard camera, and they see that the police officer's behavior was beyond criticism and it was actually the person being an asshole, if the person insists upon filing a formal complaint after that, then the fucking police administration will literally show them the body camera footage of them being an asshole and say, okay, we're going to take your formal complaint, we're going to log it, but I'm also going to include this body camera of your formal complaint as a part of the record. And at that point, 99% of the Karens and the people with God complexes who just want to fuck with your job, they fucking drop it because they don't want to have it on public record that they're total fucking assholes. So, yeah, body cameras are actually fucking sick, to be honest. Anyways.
Republicans are going to put these clips everywhere. Like, people seem crazy when they see them.
He's saying the same thing that I'm saying. This is the same thing I've said the whole time. Too late, buddy. Too late. You let this shit happen.
This stuff. And they are going to abolish the police and abolish borders and abolish prisons and play them on a loop for 6 months.
And they deserve it. And they deserve it because it's insane.
I were an average voter with no knowledge of these online personalities, which most of these people are. Most people don't follow this sort of thing. They're busy living their lives and working and doing all this stuff.
True.
If I were an average voter with no knowledge of these online personalities, I would find these images and a lot of this stuff very alarming.
Unsettling.
So as I said last week, and so many of you agreed with me, Democrats must act now and intelligently. The centrist don't really do anything. Make very milquetoast fringe suggestions that you don't even really push for. Not working, okay? This other thing of like end everything, it's a sort of destructive accelerationism, that's also not going to work. So
you see, David Pakman is naive. He thinks that the people that he's discussing are Americans. They're not Americans. These people, like, they're anchor babies and clowns. They should be fucking deported. They shouldn't even be in the country to begin with. So what are we even talking about? Like, it's just like, you're trying to be reasonable with these people. They're not reasonable. You're not going to find a middle ground with them because they're not one of you.
I think that what we need here are no apologetics for dictatorship, no apologetics for authoritarianism.
That's what they want to do.
No harassment.
And by the way, do you remember what I said like a year ago or 2 years ago about how they don't hate dictatorships? They want to be the dictators. They don't hate authoritarianism. They want to be the authoritarians. They don't hate the police. They want to be the police. Well, now everybody's seeing it. Now everybody's seeing the exact same thing that I've been trying to warn people about for years.
No anti-Semitism, no allowing online factions to decide which liberals may enter the room. You know, what would I even have been allowed at that college Democrats thing? They invited me months ago.
There's a good chance that now he won't be. This guy isn't realizing the ship sailed 2 years ago, and it's his fault that it sailed. I have no sympathy for people like David Pakman because they were the harbingers of this rot. You said that, we should bring in infinity refugees. We should bring in these people from totally different cultures. We should bring in and accept and allow these ideas and ideologies on schools. And we shouldn't try to remove this stuff because, it's freedom of speech. Right. Well, these people are going to take freedom of speech away. That's the way it works. So you had no problem allowing this to manifest, but now that it's costing you your power, now you're worried about it. It's your fault. Did he say that? He enabled people who said that. He was on the side that said that. He advocated for people that represented that. That's enough for me. You knew where this was going. What the hell did you think was going to happen whenever you import a fucking, 10 million people from other countries where you can marry kids and the government kills you for saying something wrong? What, do you really think those people are going to integrate the same way that somebody from fucking England will?
Okay, sorry. I was reading chat and catching up with chat. I didn't realize I had to sweep for immigrants real quick. I am of, like, I seriously think it's like 70% Irish stock. I have some English in there, and then I also have some, like, Eastern German and Czech in there somewhere. But like, seriously, 70% Irish stock. They all married Irish people. And so, with the Irish stock, the Irish had an insane birth rate. The Irish were a different religion compared to the majority of Americans. They were Catholic. There were legitimate concerns that John Fitzgerald Kennedy, as an Irish Catholic, and because he had to religiously give a huge amount of deference to the Catholic Church and the Pope, that the United States of America would no longer be a free country, but would actually be a Catholic dictatorship whatever the Pope wanted to say was what John Fitzgerald Kennedy would do. There was plenty of anti-Irish sentiment a few generations ago. And yet, we look at the Irish experience in the early 21st century. Nobody gives a fuck that you're Irish. Nobody cares. What, you have a higher tolerance for carbs. You have a higher tolerance for alcohol. You're a romantic dipshit, and you like to fuck. That's like the Irish, that's the boiled down Irish stereotype at this point. Alcoholism, tolerance for carbs, being passionate, loving sex a little bit too much. We're very Hispanic coded, very Hispanic coded. But our carbs are different. Hispanics love rice, Irish love potatoes. So anyways, the whole point that like, oh, these barbarian masses are swarming our gates and we can't integrate them. It's fucking horseshit. It's horseshit. It's fucking cringe. It's ahistorical. We've gone through these panics a dozen times. Who was it? Ben Franklin was panicked about the Germans. Everybody was panicked about the Italians. Everybody was panicked about the Irish. Everybody was panicked about the Chinese. And what ended up happening over the past century and a half, 2 centuries? We integrated them. Now, that doesn't mean that I want to take 10 million Muslim fucking theocratic Islamist jihadist dickheads overnight. Absolutely the fuck not. But that also doesn't mean that I want to paint with the broad brush that Asmongold is, where he just assumes that like every Hispanic immigrant to the United States is some kind of like irredeemable barbarian. That's not borne out statistically. It's not borne out in personal interactions. It's not borne out fucking anywhere. So, yes, rapists and murderers and cartels should be viciously attacked and prosecuted by the government of the United States. But not every Hispanic is a fucking machete-wielding barbarian savage. And the fact that Asmongold conceptualizes them that way is fucked up. But why not take them overnight? Because I think it's an integrative process. Like, if we increased our population by 0.5% or 1% per year, I think that is a population that you could integrate over time. But if you increase your percentage by 3% every year, or 5%, or 10% every year, I would be worried about our capacity to integrate. So, in my opinion, it's a process. It has to be like a technocratic process. It's not immediate. But Laura the Nerd says it was a real concern because of a white person had been lynched long before lynchings happened all over. Yeah, sure. I believe that there's Irish and Italian lynchings, for sure. Can you imagine tragedy being a part of your immutable identity? Asked Rodney Hobbs. Sure, Rodney Hobbs, if you're still around. I'm not. I have a privilege of Northern European Irish ancestry, and both of my grandparents surviving World War II, and them creating a middle-class life, and that middle-class life being passed down generationally between 3 generations now. So I am an incredibly privileged person in that tragedy and malevolence is not a core part of my identity, but I could understand. I might not understand it instinctively because I obviously have a different identity, but I could understand how the Black experience would be one of feeling like tragedy and malevolence surrounded you at a substantial amount of your time. Particularly if you were working class, born on the wrong side of the tracks, right? Doobie for 10 says, David pretending there's no other reason Hasan wouldn't want to be around Destiny and his cronies is sad to see. Dude's fallen off. Well, I don't think he's fallen off. I don't think that's any different. David Pakman and Destiny used to be friends. Weirdly enough, I think David Pakman might have distanced himself after Destiny moved from Los Angeles to Miami, but also I think a lot of the personal dramas are why David Pakman hasn't been hanging out with Destiny in the past year or two. But David Pakman and him, I think they used to consider themselves IRL friends. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Are you this naive? Are you this stupid? Spent 10 years getting called a racist for something that everybody knows is true. Duh, of course. But people like David Pakman tried to shut down conversations about it. That's what you get. This is what you get. Now it's happening to you. Thank God you have the DSA. It's the biggest poison pill for the Democrats.
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't go, so we didn't find out. So we just need normal people to participate, join local committees, attend conventions, get involved with state parties, and let's turn the DNC into something that works. Many reasonable people doing a little can defeat both the centrist do-nothings and the hardcore extremists who would get nothing done. Republicans believed they were going to control the extremists. They were like, we got these people under control. The extremists took over the party. Democrats can still prevent that outcome, but we've got to get them to...
No, you can't. You can't. It's over. You've already lost. You don't know it yet, but you've already lost. It's done.
Get things under control right now. I've said before, I've never been a Democrat. I don't care about the Democratic Party beyond who offers the better candidates, and usually it's Democrats over Republicans. But we've got to make sure that we don't allow that party, if it is the vessel, at least for now, to something better than what Republicans are offering, to be hijacked. This is about let's include, but not allow any extreme faction to take over. And that is what I think makes the most sense. Can it be done reasonably?
It can't be done because the core ethos of the Democratic Party is mentally ill white women with no husband, with no boyfriend, that are single on antidepressants. And the only thing that they care about is being performative in what they believe. That is the spirit animal of the Democratic Party. That is your core. That is like, and it's not an ideology, it is an identity. And the identity is just simply a performative behavior to allow yourself to be seen as a good person. Like, you have no actual candidate? That's true, too. Yeah, there's no, and that's the other thing, too. There's no actual candidate that the Democrats can run. They can't run a moderate candidate because this candidate won't play footsie with Hamas. And they can't run a Hamas candidate because everybody's like, well, that's a fucking terrorist. So they're in a no-win situation. It's going to be crazy when normal Democratic men are talking about adjusting the 19th. I get, right? Wrong, the guy with brain damage can win? Right.
Without self-inflicted damage between now and the midterms?
It's over,
I don't
buddy.
know. I hope so.
I didn't know David Pakman was a MAGA chud. Yeah, I didn't know he was such a major
There's a level of authoritarianism that you're actually comfortable.
Let me just go ahead. Yeah, and that's it. Yep. Now he's just a big chud. And it's just that simple. Yep, year of the chud.
Somebody responded to Pakman saying that centrists are useless. Listen, I understand why the binary political subjects don't like the centrists or the independents, which is that we're fickle, right? If one side gets too extreme in their bullshit, we will jump to the other side in order to balance out what we think is the American zeitgeist appropriately. That's why I was willing to vote, goddamn, voting for Kamala was fucking still left a bad taste in my mouth. But I kind of knew that Trump was going to be a fucking disaster. So my options were abstain from voting for the top of the ticket or vote for Kamala. And considering what I knew what was going to happen in Ukraine, considering what I knew what was probably going to happen in reference to federal services, what I knew what was probably going to happen in reference to the economy, I was just like, you know what? There's a strong incentive here to check the box for Kamala. I am in a purple state. I know Florida has shifted red and shifted MAGA in the past half decade, but Florida has long been considered like a purple state. And so, you know, I eventually checked the box. And I actually kind of, especially with what's going on now, I definitely stand by it. The Iran war alone would have been handled completely different by a Kamala administration. She might have, if she was as hawkish as Obama, she might have signed on for limited strikes within the 12-day war. She would not have signed off, in my opinion, she would not have signed off on the Iran war as it's been prosecuted at this point. She would not have done a decapitation strike against the Iranian government. She would not have caused the Strait of Hormuz crisis. She wouldn't have done that shit. So, in my opinion, I think that, you know, I not only do I stand by my vote, I feel like I've been vindicated by the past 2 years. Like, I'm happy that we deported. Well, the border is arguably secure because everybody is too afraid to come in. So we have like a really low net migration along the border. And then we deported like 2 million people or 2 million people. That was deportations by ICE and self-deportation, something like that. I don't think that was worth the amount of chaos that we've endured. So, yeah, fuck that. Fuck that is what I have to say. Hi, Tiberius Debuisseret. Good to see you, King. Hope you're doing well.
And somebody went and said, let me see if I can show you guys this. It's somebody calling him right wing. Let me see if I can find this. We haven't even gotten to, by the way, there's like crazy WoW drama. I am going to get...
Oh, sorry, I didn't finish my centrist point. What Pac-Man doesn't realize is he needs independents and centrists and moderates to back him up in his anti-leftist civil war because the giga progressives and the giga woke are going to side with Hasan Piker over him. So if you want some rhetorical and political backup, guess where you're going to need to go? The independents, the centrists.
To that today. I know a couple of people asked about it. It's really, really fucking funny. But I haven't seen a lot of it yet, but we're going to go through everything later on. I'm just not ready for it yet, okay? Please be patient. So anyway, give me a second. I'll see if I can find the comment that they made about him. I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to be able to find it. Maybe I'm a fucking retard. Has he always been this right wing? I never watched him, but I thought he was sort of like an establishment progressive. David A. Pac-Man hasn't been progressive since October 7th. His name is David A. Pac-Man, and if you read it phonetically, you'll know the sole issue that really animates him. Jew alert! Looks like we've got ourselves a Jew here. Uh-oh. Israel defender? Oh my God. This is it. Oy vey. Oh no. We got one here. Come here, guys. Call the police. Shalom, brother. Yeah, I would go even farther, but I'd probably get in trouble. And so anyway, right wing is when you don't support starving millions of peasants to death. Establishment progressives don't endorse the aggressive brutal dictator. Hope that helps. Oh man, and wow. Right wing, you people are insane. Yes, David Pac-Man is right wing. Resurface clip. It shows David Pac-Man repeating Zionist propaganda verbatim, claiming Israel was treated unfairly. I wonder if it's about not hating the genocide. This is it. That is the core of all of this, because at the very core of it, it is these people. It is identity politics. It has been identity politics ever since the beginning. And any Democrat that is bemoaning and complaining about their position in this, I think that I love the fact that they're getting eaten alive. I do. I love watching this happen. I love seeing him get harassed. I love watching this. He deserves this more than anybody else. Let me go. I'm going to look this up. David Pac-Man. Where's David Pac-Man? Let's see if I can find it. Is this the... I think this is the video. Yeah. Yeah, Democrats face growing pressure to stop extremist activists before they gain greater influence inside the party. The Democratic Party is defined by virtue signaling, emotional blackmail, and emotional manipulation. There are no real principles behind the Democratic Party. And I will give you the clearest and most obvious example of that. How the fuck can you have free healthcare for everybody when everybody can come into the country?
Can you pay for free healthcare for 7 million people, billion people? No, of course not. So you have to obviously do border control. You have to do that. So you cannot have these two things. You either pick strong borders and a control on immigration, or you pick free healthcare for everybody. That's it. Or sorry, or you pick that, but you can only have one or the other, all right? Sorry, I confused myself there, but I think that the point is pretty fucking obvious, all right? It's confusing to even explain. New Lego video? I know that. I know. How about neither? I'm a big fan. I think that we should pay for free healthcare. I do. I think that we should. I am an advocate of universal basic income. I am an advocate of Medicare for all, and I want to have that happen. But I want it for Americans.
I love that so much. Dude, I love that. Happened like twice in that video. But like, he was like, no. I agree with David Pakman on all this fucking lib shit. I agree with David Pakman on police reform. I agree with David Pakman on a more robust welfare state. I agree with David Pakman on like this, and this lib policy, this, and this SOCDEM policy. And then he's like, but deporting the Browns is a more important priority. And then what's funny is that talking point of like, you can have a robust welfare state, but you can't have unlimited immigration is actually really funny because it is a Bernie Sanders talking point. They like in the 90s or the thousands, there was some conversation between Bernie Sanders and some reporter. And the reporter was like, hey, you support all these robust welfare reforms that are democratic or whatever, but it seems like you're a border hawk, like you have voted to secure the border multiple times. And Bernie Sanders says, yes, I am a border hawk because I want to have robust social safety nets, and robust social safety nets don't work if you have an unlimited amount of population showing up in order to claim your unlimited social safety nets. It's kind of funny to hear Asmongold simultaneously arguing for the mass deportation of tens of millions of people while also saying that he's basically a Bernie, bro. He is the horseshoe, bro. He is the horseshoe. But we do have a couple of donations coming in. Thank you. Old School with the 5 says, it's interesting the Irish face discrimination in a country built on the ideas of the Scottish Enlightenment, but the Scottish Enlightenment rose in Calvinist Scotland. Yeah, but is there Scotch? I think it's the Ulster Scots, right? Weren't the Ulster Scots part of the colonialization or the colonization of Ireland, and therefore they had antagonisms with the Irish people based off of that? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's where the antagonism is coming from. Now, Shapingro did a gifted. Thank you, kings and queens. Let me go ahead and we're going to move, I think, into Geopol. So there is geopolitical happenings. Unless you guys have another drama or another debate, that was realistically the biggest segments. So we had, what did we really have? We had, shit, I forget what we had. What did we do before Asmongold? Or did we start with, we did the soy pill debate. So in reference to Soypill versus Whick, in my estimation, Whick was just sweeping for the DGG perspective that them getting booted from the event was illogical. I think we can all, or I hope most of us, can agree that any private event really has the right to kick anybody out of any event if they believe that they're going to be disruptive. And then, so as a result, we don't give a shit. But the reason why we care is because it's alarming to have a dude dressed as Mao Zedong delivering socialist dog whistles to the College Democrats of America and having him getting a standing ovation from the event. That's what's alarming. And in reference to Asmongold's coverage of the event, while I obviously disagree with his, we need to denaturalize and mass deport all the Browns because they're insufficiently American, disagree with him on that, I do agree with him that this is an alarming, development. It's an alarming development that the CDA is so friendly with Hasan Piker. And as a result, I am not happy. I am not happy about the trajectory of young Democrats in the United States of America. I am worried that they are being co-opted by socialists and communists. And if they don't develop an immune system to be able to fight this viral infection, then a substantial amount of the Democratic Party will be absorbed by these DSA, LARPing, Marxist-Leninist losers. So yeah, I'm worried about it. I don't like it. I'm seeing some historical parallels between that and what happened with the right wing. The right wing the Tea Party was considered like a populace, meaning lots of people, a populous but kind of like fringy grassroots working class, middle class movement of saying the federal government gets enough of our taxes, provide better services and fuck off with the money you have. That was the Tea Party. Then the Tea Party obviously moved into the anti-Obama protests and all that bullshit. Then that kind of evolved into the alt-right, the dissident right, and the online right during the Gamergate era. And then that evolved into this fucking techno-feudalist, J.D. Vance, Trumpian, techno-oligarch bullshit. And so man, it fucking sucks. So don't discount your fringes, because your fringes can drive the narrative. And if they drive the narrative, then you can see your party co-opted to be a substantial amount of fringeoid fucking freaks. So, yeah. Is it because he said ninja and was rough around the edges? Huh. Soypill would have you believe that the CDA didn't know any of those streamers but started watching their stream after they arrived in order to kick them out. That doesn't matter to me. That doesn't matter to me. We have the capacity of free association. It's just worrying to me that the vice president of the CDA is wearing a keffiyeh while kicking out liberals and being a fan of a dude dressed up as a Maoist delivering Marxist-Leninist dog whistles. That's concerning to me. I've said this before, I'll say it again. To me, it's the same thing as if TPUSA invited Nick Fuentes to an event. Nick Fuentes showed up in a cosplay of Hitler and then delivered a speech where he got a standing ovation. So that for me is, pretty fucking bad. What? Not a keffiyeh? Well, we did have that argument earlier. We Googled the... Hold on, before we move into GeoPoll, I kind of want to resolve this in chat real quick with a poll. Was it a keffiyeh or a... What do they call it? A tali something? A talilt? Jewish talit. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you guys real quick. So, Jewish talit. Where's the images tab? Like, listen, I like the AI summary or whatever, but what used to be up here was the different tabs that you could click on that would be like shopping, images, whatever. There we go. All right, so here's a Jewish talit. It's a scarfy thing that you wear around your shoulders, and it's Jewish. But I'm not seeing any... Here's one that's kind of black and white, but it's not really black and white, to be honest. The stripe pattern is more common. Or a talit, question mark. And then keffiyeh, talit. Then I'm going to show you a keffiyeh. Keffiyeh, scarf, images. Okay. Here's a keffiyeh. Dude, based off of this one, it's like 100% a keffiyeh for me. It's 100% a fucking keffiyeh based off of this image, because this one almost looks identical to the one that the guy had. So, let's take a look at Destiny. Destiny kicked out of CDA.
We're not letting you.
Dude, I'm just saying it. For me, this is a keffiyeh. Dude, this is how the fuck am I supposed to look at this and then look at this and have it not be a keffiyeh? That's a fucking keffiyeh. If somebody wants to hit me with more information, so this is a Jewish talit, which has stripes and little strands at the end for religious significance, but it has stripes. And stereotypically, it's blue and white, although we are seeing black and white. But it's stripes, not the pattern that we're seeing with the keffiyeh. And then if you look at the keffiyeh, like normally it kind of has that like houndstooth design pattern. Like this is the one that I'm used to seeing is like the houndstooth black and white checker. This is what I'm used to seeing. But this guy is wearing it over his shoulders and it has an almost identical pattern to this dude. This guy remembered to bring a towel. I forget who said. I wanted to shout out whoever said that earlier, but I forget the I forgot who it was. So I wanted to give them credit. You know, Towley from South Park. It's about a decade old reference, but they do have a Towley episode. They have like 2 Towley episodes where Towley is a sentient towel who, like, his purpose is to remind humanity to use towels whenever they do water sports. But he becomes a marijuana addict and he just wanders around the town getting stoned out of his fucking mind and just going, don't forget to bring a towel. So the vice president of the College Democrats of America, he remembered to bring a towel. he brought a towel. A keffiyeh held like a talit by virtue signaling Western asshole. Yeah, pretty much. The vice president is a capo. What? The dude has a name. Just look him up and see if he is Jewish. This isn't hard. But that's not even the point though, dude. There are Jewish members of the pro-Palestinian movement and they fucking love virtue signaling about their support of Palestine. So even if this guy was Jewish, it actually would have no determination for me on whether or not it was a keffiyeh or a talit. It looks like a keffiyeh to me. Not how you wear a keffiyeh. Yeah, sure. But then we literally just Googled it and there was somebody wearing a keffiyeh this way. It was a keffiyeh. He was repping Palestine. He's anti-Zionist. There you go. I mean, Alishna says it. So, I mean, I don't know. But, like, to me, it looks like a fucking keffiyeh. It looks like he's repping Palestine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Laugh my ass off. He did bring a towel. True. He remembered to bring a towel. Whenever you're going to do water sports, you know, you gotta remember you don't want to get it cold. So you need to remember to bring a towel. Okay. Yeah. All right. Looks like 86% of people agree with me that it's a keffiyeh. So I for the people who are like, no, it's a talit, or no, it's a beach towel. I don't know what to do for you. I'm pretty sure it's a keffiyeh. So you guys want to get high? It's like, no, Towley, we don't want to get high. Hey guys. Oh man, I'm so high right now. Those were simpler days. Simpler days. Oh no, you don't even know Towley? Tiberius doesn't even know. I need to show, before we move on, I need to show Tiberius D. Towley. Towley, South Park.
39 hours to play Games Fair until school on Monday. Woohoo! Awesome! Oh, crap. What? I'm supposed to go to the lake with my family tomorrow and swim and play in the stupid sun. Dude, we got Games Fair. I know. Well, look, I'll stay over anyway so I can play for 18 hours, and then I'll go to the lake. Don't forget to bring a towel. What? When you get out of the water, you need to dry off right away to avoid catching a cold. That's why Tally says, don't forget to bring a towel. Okay. Thanks, Tally. You want to get high? No. Are we getting close? I think so. A little more gas, Kenny. How long has it been since you've been back there?
I've been wandering around on my own for the past few weeks, you know, helping people out with towel safety and proper towel use. It's important.
No, it isn't.
Is.
No, it isn't.
Is. Wait, turn down here. It's down this dirt road.
Brake, Kenny, brake.
Maybe it's down that dirt road.
Dude, don't you remember where it is?
I can't remember. It all looks the same. Hold on, let me get high. Then I'll remember where it is.
All right, so where is it?
Where's what?
I fucking love Tally, dude. I fucking love Tally. So, how would I phrase this? I don't think I need to phrase shit. Fucking Tally's awesome. Dude, smoking weed, doing THC. Unfortunately, somebody asked if I smoked salvia back in the day. No, I smoked salvia once, literally a month before I went to the Marine Corps. I smoked salvia, but it didn't do anything. I got a headache. That's what happened. I didn't have an hallucinogenic experience. And then all the people who did salvia, and they basically said that they had hallucinogenic experiences, their experiences didn't sound fun. They sounded terrifying. Like, my little brother smoked salvia once, and he said that he looked down and his body turned into frogs, melted into 1,000 frogs, and then started running away from his body. And he was, like, trapped in that for, like, a weird amount of time because he didn't have a good sense of time. And then he fucking, poof, came back to fucking reality. That didn't sound fun. Watching my body fucking turn into things that melt doesn't sound fun at all. And then, yeah, I've obviously smoked a healthy chunk of marijuana. Now, what's weird is, like, back when I was smoking marijuana in high school, I had fun. Like, I would get stoned, and then I would listen to really good music, and I would drive around, and I would, you know, have a good time, and I would hang out with my friends, and I would eat food. And now, like, when I get stoned, I just get, like, anxious, and my body hurts, and I think paranoid thoughts and all that kind of shit. So for me, it's kind of like, I wish I could capture the joy of marijuana that I had in my high school days, but I just don't think it's possible. I think I've grown up too much. I think I've seen too much fucked up shit. I think my body is too fucked up. And so as a result, I just don't think marijuana does the same thing that it did for me when I was a kid. Salvia is not acid. It's its own thing. Doobie for 10 says, it's a kafia, and that's awesome. Also, why is it bad for Hasan and the DCA to want Destiny and his cronies out, given their long history of doxing and harassment Hasan and his family? I mean, like, I think I said that the CDA has the right to do whatever it wants with its own private events. That's not what I give a shit about. What I give a shit about, whether or not Destiny being barred from a liberal event is entirely within the realm of possibility. I understand that, like, you know, there's fans of his in the chat or whatever, but, like, he's a wild dude. He does wild shit, you know? I wish I could be fucking Steven's friend, but I can't fucking be his friend when he's doing all this fucking wild shit. So if I feel that way, and I'm a pretty risk-taking person, then I'm sure plenty of professionals feel that way too, where they're like, yeah, fucking wish that we had his clout, money, access, audience, etc., but also wish he would chill the fuck out in reference to his crazy personal behavior. I don't think that's a crazy take. Doobie for 10 says, Destiny has a channel in his Discord where they coordinated emailing Hasan's advertisers and finding his family members for months. Seems totally normal and want to stay away from these people. Yeah. We're not touching the poo. We're not touching the poo. Although, Doobie, somebody did say, I won't say who, but they did say they were talking shit about you, and you found their personal information pretty quickly. So, you know, you shouldn't touch the poo in my presence either. There's a lazy attempt to shift the convo from stalking and harassment victim wants to be harassed by his stalkers. Leftists kicked out liberals because they're liberal. Yeah. It's not because they're liberal. Right? In my opinion. It's because Steven. Yeah. Anyways. All right. So what I want to do is move on to GeoPoll. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I'll thank everybody who donated today. And I do want to watch Preston Stewart real quick because he does shorter ones for like 10 minutes. I do have about an hour left. Then I actually enjoyed, I know somebody was saying that Johnny Harris had a dog shit take on Russia and Ukraine, and therefore they didn't trust the rest of his content, and therefore they didn't like him as a creator. But I actually did enjoy his, did he do Iran? I think he did Iran. And I think Khosra said that he was like 70% accurate on Iran. And so as a result, I want to check out his Modern Middle East Explained. Because he did, in my opinion, the infographics are really good. But he also did a really good delineation of like medieval Middle Eastern history. Late medieval, I suppose. Late medieval, Renaissance era Iranian history rolling into the modern era. And so I wouldn't mind seeing that flowed for the entire Middle East and North Africa. Kind of like late medieval rolling into modern. That would be cool content to engage with. Like half historical, half current geopolitical. That's like a cool capture of information. So, Sapien Green for 100 DKK. Thank you, King. I will never understand how some people in the West can support homicidal ideologies like Marxism, Stalinism, Maoism, and Islam. As far as I know, we're not lobotomizing anyone around here, so I have no idea why. It's because they didn't have to actually live up close to it. So they didn't have to live under the worst excesses of Mao's China, nor did they have to be aware of the worst excesses of Stalin and his successors. Now, Soviet historical revisionists will have you believe that, like, yeah, sure, Stalin was a pretty bad guy, but his successors after that were just technocrats who were trying to execute a socialist vision for the Soviet Union, but then they'll, like, casually omit the secret police, the bans on the black markets and the brown markets, people getting disappeared, people getting murdered, the fucking spy state, all that bullshit. So realistically, I think they're kind of assholes. They're historically ignorant assholes, is my opinion. But anyways, let me thank everybody who donated. Whenever I say doobie, because I'm just going to roll through the names, Doobie, Sapien Green, Doobie, Shapingro, Old School, Lord of the Nerds, Doobie, Fellrunner, Officer Nasty. Thank you, kings and queens, not only for your financial support, but also for your viewership. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to introduce a geopolitical segment, and we're going to get going. Hi, guys. Welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I'm trying to be a rhino. A Republican who is honest, has integrity, nuance, and objectives. And today, I got a little bit of geopolitical shenanigans for us because there are lots of geopolitical shenanigans happening around the world right now. So, Preston Stewart covers current events. He does a really good job of covering the Ukraine and beat-by-beat developments in reference to Iran and Israel. He has something in reference to the past 24 to 48 hours in reference to the United States getting ready to do deeper strikes on Iran. We're going to take a look at it. Let's go.
Big strikes on Iran are coming soon, likely against Pickaxe Mountain, a facility where, according to new intelligence, Iran recently moved a significant portion of their nuclear enrichment capability underground. Iran, for their part, says an operation is ready to go that would result in a day of mourning for the United States. So let's get into it, starting with an update on our fallen. The Pentagon has now released the names and pictures of 2 soldiers killed this week, one while disabling an Iranian drone in Iraq, and another from an Iranian missile strike in Jordan. On the screen here is Sergeant Michael Swinton, 30 years old, of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He was assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 55th Air Defense Artillery Regiment, 108th Air Defense Artillery Brigade, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Then we have Sergeant Angel Rampersad, 28, of Ozone Park, New York. She was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 57th Air Defense Artillery Regiment, 52nd Air Defense Artillery Brigade, 10th Army Air and Missile Defense Command, based out of Ansbach, Germany. According to the Pentagon's reporting, their website now has 18 Americans so far killed in action during the ongoing war with Iran, Operation Epic Fury, and 482 total wounded in action. Now, the U.S. and Iran continued the tit-for-tat strikes overnight, with the United States completing its 11th consecutive night of strikes inside of Iran. CENTCOM says they targeted Iranian military operations centers, maritime capabilities, aircraft hangars, drone storage facilities, and military logistics infrastructure to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. You'll note that all of those listed there are very clear military targets. It does appear that the United States is shifting its strategy. President Trump made a threat earlier today to destroy a power plant every time that Iran targets a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. And of course, the intelligence about Pickaxe Mountain suggests that the U.S. is going to go back after the Iranian nuclear program. Iran has continued their strikes as well. We have new satellite imagery showing what appears to be a radar system in Kuwait that was destroyed in a recent Iranian attack, and housing at Tower 22 in Jordan also destroyed in an Iranian strike. Earlier today, Jordan also announced that I think it was 6 Iranian missiles detected in their skies, 4 intercepted, and 2 impacted in uninhabited areas. So the Iranian strikes, drone and missile attacks, are continuing all day, every day.
My question about this is, why don't the Iranians target a single base and then level it? And I understand, like, from the logical perspective, okay? Let's say that Al-Udeid was flattened and it killed a few thousand troops, right? Then at that point, if you kill more than 3,000 Americans, I think that, like, auto launches a war. Like, effectively, the United States would look at the dead, including the civilian population, and the civilian population might say, hey, we fucking hate that Trump launched this war. This fucking sucks. But if they're going to wipe out that many Americans, then we're going to kill the fuck out of you. So I do understand it from that logical perspective. But it does seem they're in this weird half-ass place where they kill like a handful of people by blowing up like one thing here, one thing there, one thing there. So, I mean, are they just trying to demonstrate their capacity to destroy things? I don't, like, somebody explain it to me in chat, because I kind of do not understand the half-assed tactics.
Now, the Washington Post put together an assessment that I agree with, saying, according to a number of current and former U.S. officials, these strikes are not going to change Iran's perspective. They said, quote, Iran's government is...
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the obvious thing. So Tiberius and Khosrow say approximately the same thing. They don't want full-scale war. They kind of just want to keep it where it's at right now. Yeah, that makes sense. It's an obvious answer. It just seems weird to me. You hit Jordan, you hit Kuwait, you hit whatever, you know. I don't know. I guess I'm just a silly goose.
Unlikely to feel significant impact or soften its negotiating position as a result of new rounds of U.S. military strikes like those now underway, according to a new intelligence assessment described by current and former U.S. officials. That seems correct. It's hard to expect that Iran is going to drastically change their position on any number of these issues when we continue this just back and forth, again, as U.S. Central Command put out, going after military operations centers, drone storage facilities, and so on. If that didn't move the needle a month ago, 2 months ago, during the ongoing hostilities, why do we think that today it's going to drastically change? It probably isn't. Now, the timing here of the new intelligence is interesting, and I'll share my personal opinion here in a minute. But the Wall Street Journal just yesterday reported that Israeli intelligence believes that Iran has moved thousands of uranium enrichment centrifuges into tunnels deep inside a mountain last fall, a development that would heighten concerns that Tehran could reconstitute its nuclear program. They say Israel passed along the intelligence to the United States, saying the centrifuges were transferred to the Pickaxe Mountain site last fall after the 12-day war in June, when American and Israeli strikes hit Iran's 3 main nuclear sites. Trump told reporters on Tuesday that he was aware of these reports and that the U.S. would, quote, be hitting that area pretty soon and very heavily. So, first off, why does Iran still have a nuclear site functioning that was not targeted by the U.S. or Israel? The deal with Pickaxe Mountain, and there's a good podcast, I think, from Andrea Stricker on FDD, or Foundation for Defense of Democracies. I'll link in the description below. She does a good job of diving into what is Pickaxe Mountain and what would the options be if we needed to go after this. So check that out for some background. But bottom line is, we believe Pickaxe Mountain to be unfinished. It is not a completed or operational nuclear facility, so the United States and Israel prioritized those that were currently underway. And, housing the centrifuges, housing the highly enriched uranium. The other part here is there's no consensus among U.S. officials that we have the capability with our conventional munitions, our bunker buster bombs like we're used at Fordo, that would be enough to destroy the facilities at Pickaxe Mountain. It is deep buried underground. So just something to consider as President Trump talks about going after this facility and going after it hard. Now,
another question, displaying my ignorance. Couldn't you just hit, like, let's say, I'm presuming that the United States has geostationary satellites that can be put in observation of locations over the planet 24/7. And so, would it not be possible to put a geostationary, if we don't have one already, a geostationary, like, satellite over this territory, watching Pickaxe Mountain 24/7, and then effectively just hit all the entrances and exits with bunker busters, instead of necessarily worrying about destroying the interior of it? Like that would be my thing, because if you can watch it 24/7, see when people are coming and going, see when people are trying to remove the rubble, et cetera, then you just hit the entrances and exits over and over and over again. Now, could somebody tunnel so far away from the original site that they, you have a tunnel exit that is not perceived by the satellites? Absolutely. But, why is that, not something that American intelligence can handle, right?
Personal assessment injected here. The timing of this intelligence seems a little bit suspect. I've been skeptical of constantly hearing that Iran is 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon for about 20 years at this point. Also, if this intelligence, if Iran moved these nuclear capabilities and the centrifuges last fall, why are we just hearing about it now? Why were we not going after, now, of course, making the information public is an entirely different story, but if we knew about this, why was Pickaxe Mountains not hit and not targeted right out the gate? One of the key focuses of the administration's war planning and the objectives in this war, Secretary Hegseth repeated it over and over again in Senate and House hearings in recent days, is to make sure that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So if we knew that they had moved this stuff last fall, were we not watching it? Did we miss it? Are we just now waiting to put that information out? All of that makes me personally a little bit skeptical about the validity of this information. But the problem is, when you're looking at anything like this, it's purely a matter of trust. And I guess to kind of cut through it all here, I don't have a lot of trust that is a genuine assessment. Now, the Times of Israel, speaking to this, says the United States has informed Israel that it plans to escalate its strikes on Iran in the coming days, including the use of heavy bombers. They say, according to the report, the bombers are expected to target Pickaxe Mountain nuclear site near Qom. The close security coordination between Jerusalem and Washington is reportedly intended to allow Israel to prepare for the possibility that Iran could respond to the intensified U.S. strikes by escalating its own attacks, including launching missiles at Israel. They add that Israel is at its peak level of readiness tonight following those U.S. updates. Now, not entirely clear that the first thing Iran would do here is go after Israel. In fact, this recent wave of strikes, they've been pretty heavily focused on the United States. In fact, the IRGC just today issued a warning, quote, "If the transgressions continue, we are preparing for a regretful operation that will result in a national day of mourning for the United States." And with these tit for tat, we're seeing a focus area really is the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. That's kind of been front and center in anything that CENTCOM puts out. Iran continues to go after shipping through that critical waterway. So President Trump a few hours ago issued a warning saying, quote, "From this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran." So we're getting a lot of these threats, this threatening rhetoric from both sides. Iran responded to that directly, saying that in the event of attacks on bridges or power plants, Iran will immediately launch a large-scale strike against infrastructure and energy facilities in the region in those countries that are within the sphere of American interests. Again, it does look like, by and large, the Iranian focus of these strikes recently have been the Gulf countries, not Israel. That doesn't mean they won't or will never go after Israel again. But right now, actually, every one of the strikes, from what I can tell, over the course of the last 2 weeks has been against U.S. bases and then oil and desalination facilities in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and now Jordan, of course, on the receiving end of some of these strikes as well.
I'm not doing cigarettes. 500 cigarettes. I wish I could do cigarettes. I wish cigarettes didn't have a negative health consequence, but no, I'm not smoking. So hold up. How is the end game not just okay? So what some people are saying, or somebody said in chat, was that like the goal was regime change. Okay, well then why aren't we targeting the political leaders again the way that we targeted the political leaders in the past? Because it seems like we've left the son of the supreme leader alive for a couple of months now, and unless he's in Pickaxe Mountain. And then it also seems like we're not blowing up their, their administration the way that we were. In my opinion, we're still hitting like IRGC, but we're not hitting everybody else. And so then that kind of begs the question, okay, so if we're not shooting for regime change anymore and we're shooting for the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, doesn't that kind of like dictate that we would need to concede some kind of toll control to the Iranians over the Strait of Hormuz? Like the original deal. I understand like nobody likes it because the JCPOA arguably accomplished this with the Strait of Hormuz being available. But why can't we just say, yep, you got control of the Strait of Hormuz, put a 5% surtax on all the shipping that goes through it. We'll pay you that. They just don't blow up the ships. And then that's basically it. And then call it a day. And then we'll give you, the Gulf states will pool $300 billion for rebuilding all the infrastructure that the United States blew up. And let's try to be friends in the future. Like, how is that not the solution here? Weirdly enough. But I think part of the problem is that the United States doesn't want to take the optics L of conceding the entire strait to the Iranians, and they don't want to give them the on-off switch over the Strait of Hormuz, but I don't think anything else is going to get the deal done. Right? So somebody correct me where my thinking is wrong. And by the way, just in case Khazra thinks I've forgotten about the brave people of Iran and their struggle for freedom, I still want to give you guys endless amounts of small arms and internet terminals so you can eventually overthrow the government. But that's kind of like a long-term project versus, I don't know, the energy security of the entire planet being a slightly higher priority at this point. So, yeah, God, imagine healthy cigarettes. I would fuck up some healthy cigarettes, dude. If there was like a cigarette that you could still inhale some smoke and get like a little bit high on it, but then it actually like helped improve your VO2 max. Oh my God. I would be crushing healthy cigarettes.
The Speaker of Iranian Parliament, Halabaith, issued a statement talking about kind of what to...
I see. So we have more leverage than I'm thinking. Because Khazra is saying the problem with the Hormuz being closed is that it's closed for Iran too because of our blockade. That makes a shitload of sense. So we don't technically have to concede full control of the strait because as much as we might be hurting, we can hurt Iran arguably worse by fucking with their capacity to generate any revenue because of how reliant the economy is on oil. That's interesting.
Expect if these strikes continue, especially the U.S. going after infrastructure inside of Iran. And he said, quote, "The equation of this war is clear, all or none. In a region where we do not sell oil, no one will sell oil. If our security is not ensured, no infrastructure will be safe, and the security of the strait is in the absence of American forces. We have repeatedly said that the situation of the strait will not return to its pre-war conditions." So I think we really need to keep an eye out here in the coming days. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night, but in the very near future, I would expect a significant U.S. military strike against a number of targets in Iran, likely focused on Pickaxe Mountain, unless, of course, that statement is just a diversion from President Trump and we're going after something else entirely. But all signs point towards a U.S. escalation, bigger strikes, more strikes, different target set, and Iran has made their point clear that they are going to expand their targeting if we do that. And for what it's worth, Iran has shown the ability to get drones and missiles through not just allied air defense in Kuwait, Bahrain, and elsewhere, but also U.S. air defense, protecting some of our bases, our troops, and our key facilities throughout the region. So everything right now points to a short-term escalation. The big question will be, does that actually get us closer to the end of the conflict? But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all.
Kazra says, Connor, the idea of giving Iranians weapons, it's a recipe for disaster. Who gets it? Civil war. I have the solution, but it's inhumane and dirty as fuck. Well, you could tell me. You could tell me in chat if you want. But yeah, like, civil war, yeah. Like, okay, so for my thing, didn't we succeed, based off of the video that you showed us, didn't we succeed in bribing sufficient amounts of the Iranian army in order to turn against the parliament? So we should probably bribe substantial amounts of the military to side with the rebels. But simultaneous to that, yes, there should be Iranian rebels, freedom fighters, who are trained in small arms, given small arms, and given internet terminals that can't be shut off by the regime. So my point is that, like, there's the Iranian army, and then there's the IRGC, right? And the IRGC are the people who are trying to make sure that the Iranian regime doesn't fall. There has to be another contestant against the IRGC, or else it's just never going to happen, right? Who are the rebels? Where are they? Well, sounds like an interesting question that should be, people have talked about the Kurdish forces in the Northwest, but I don't think the Kurdish forces in the Northwest would be willing to go into Tehran, right? Because they're going to be viewed as foreign hostile invaders. So they would have to be indigenous resistance groups. But do you know who normally finds indigenous resistance groups? The CIA. It's what the CIA does. They train people in languages. They send them in under diplomatic cover. They send them in as tourists. And then they have them infiltrate societies and find indigenous resistance groups. And then they give money, weapons, and internet terminals to indigenous resistance groups, and then they help them fight whoever they want to fight. That's the CIA's job. So, yeah, you shouldn't be asking me. You should be asking the CIA. Now, weirdly enough, I think I want to watch the Middle East explained by this guy, but I wanted to show you this thing too. Chris Cappy released a video that you guys might think is interesting. He released the video called Black Ops in Iran. And so effectively, it's an hour-long video. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and do this because we only have 30 minutes left. So I'll probably watch more of this content going forward. But Chris, content question mark. And we need to be snappy about it because, like I said, we only got 30 minutes left. I have to go to a medical appointment this afternoon. Black Ops in Iran, Chris Cappy. Or Mina history / poll video. All right, quick vote. Snap vote. Kings and queens. Snap vote. Also, since we're wrapping up early because I got the medical appointment, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage your chat, super chats if you got it, memberships if you got it. My parents socially love you. Thank you for being here. But yeah, Chris Cappy, Black Ops, or Middle Eastern, North African history. All right. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, shit. It's flipping back and forth now. Now I can't end it. All right. All right. Mina wins. We'll check out the Chris Cappy thing another day if you guys want to check it out. Anyways, let's go. Hold on, let me do a little intro, I guess. Hi, guys. Welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd. I don't even need to do an intro because it's going to be such a short segment. We're just watching this to watch this. Let's take a look. I did this, didn't I? How the U.S. stole the Middle East? This sounds familiar.
Middle East, the part of Asia that Europeans see as the middle of what they see as the East. Sort of arbitrary. Whatever. We call it the Middle East. This part...
Hold on. We watched this previously. Iran-Iraq war, how to sell a war, why this country, most replayed, how Bibi Netanyahu... I feel like we got through the Iran-Iraq war. That's what we did. We did the intro through the Iran-Iraq war. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to fast forward just to summarize what I remember from that coverage. Okay. The United States was playing all sides in the Iran-Iraq war. Basically, we obviously backed the Shah, as we covered in the Iranian segment, where the British and the Russians were playing Iran for a century. There was indigenous resentment against foreign meddling. British Petroleum was established, and they were controlling the oil in Iran. MI6 and the CIA did a joint operation when Mossadegh voted to nationalize the petroleum of Iran. We did a joint operation in order to get Mossadegh secured under house arrest and put the king back in. The king did do a bunch of modernization efforts, but still the local people were resentful of how much he was in league with international players and his own wealth compared to the development of the average Iranian person. That resentment did boil over into the revolution, which saw Ayatollah Khamenei come into power. And they set up a really, really strong horizontal government that has checks on... It's basically a militaristic theocratic republic. It's actually very impressive. And so they set up a militaristic theocratic republic that was difficult to overthrow, and that's what's been in power for the past 50 years. Now, simultaneous to that, they were fighting the dictator of Iraq, Saddam, and we didn't want them to actually beat Iraq because that was going to destabilize petroleum. But we definitely did not want them to beat Iraq and then have a Shiite majority proxy that was threatening the rest of the Middle East and North Africa, particularly Saudi Arabia, which was our last remaining large oil exporting ally. And that's kind of the Iran-Iraq war. Weirdly enough, I don't think it was mentioned in the video that we covered previously, but we sold weapons to Iran while selling weapons to Iraq, which is part of the reason why Saddam Hussein got pissed at us. And we did so through Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a fixer who helped the Brits sell fighter jets to the Saudis in the 1980s. And then he worked with Israel in order to get weapons to Iran via Israeli land routes. So, little Jeffrey Epstein lore right there.
In the summer of 2002, the director of the British intelligence agency MI6, Richard Dearlove, traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with the director of the CIA, George Tenet. The topic of the meeting was Iraq and its leader, Saddam Hussein. In the meeting, the CIA director shared classified information with his British counterpart, who then traveled back to London to 10 Downing Street, the home of the Prime Minister, Tony Blair. Dearlove told his prime minister everything about what was really happening behind the scenes in the United States. How the US was planning to invade Iraq no matter what. It was a highly classified meeting, but notes were taken and classified and put into a
Hold on. I feel like we skipped some shit there. But okay.
memo. That memo was later leaked to British author and journalist Michael Smith, who published it in 2005. And that's what we're looking at. A secret meeting, and the memo it produced, meant only for the eyes of top British officials. It was an explosive leak. What we see is that Dearlove tells his prime minister everything he heard in Washington a few days earlier, and that this was a very different story than the one the Bush administration was telling to the public. That an American invasion was inevitable, that Bush's people were fixated on removing Saddam Hussein from power, no matter what, and that the US government was blatantly cooking up intel and facts to help sell their invasion. This document shows us how power really works in our world. How a small group of people decided to topple a dictator, to occupy a country, and then invented a story to support their plan. It was a false story, but it helped them sell a horrifying war. It's a story that is revealed in detail by the Downing Street memo.
I absolutely want to take the Downing Street memo as much as I can to see if I can integrate new perspectives into what's going on in my own worldview. But when you look at the Iran-Iraq war, towards the end of the war, Saddam bit the hand that fed. We'd given him bear spares, meaning that we had secured Soviet materiel for him. We'd given him CIA intel analysis. We'd given him, according to the Rigel report, we gave him a ton of dual-use technology so he could develop weapons of mass destruction. We gave him the precursors for anthrax. We gave him the precursors for VX. We gave him the precursors for botulism. And he used those weapons. He used those weapons against the Kurds. And he fired Scud missiles into Israel and Saudi Arabia. So the narrative that Saddam Hussein was this like bloodthirsty monomaniacal dictator, fucking vicious dickhead who was a regional threat to all of his neighbors and he had WMDs was justified because we were the people who sold him the weapons of mass destruction. And in the 1990s, we had the flyover. We had like the no-fly zone over Iraq, where effectively we were putting in hardcore sanctions that were fucking up the country economically because he would not bend to our desire to eliminate his weapons of mass destruction program. And Hans Blix and the UN and all that kind of stuff, they said, oh, yeah, he complied or he mostly complied. And the truth is, he did comply and he mostly complied. But the reason why he gave UN inspectors the runaround, this is from Saddam himself. The reason why he did a shell game with WMDs was because he wanted the plausible deniability that he still had WMDs. That way, he couldn't be invaded. Another interesting thing about Saddam Hussein was that Syria and Iraq were supposed to be one country. They were both run by Ba'athist parties, and they were a pan-Arab movement. And Saddam was supposed to give political deference to the leader of Syria, and he was supposed to be ruling ruling Iraq as a subcomponent of Syria. But he said, fuck that. I want my own country. And as a result, Iraq and Syria never unified. So yeah, I'm all for the Bush administration, Donald Rumsfeld, and Dick Cheney cooking up or exaggerating or being hyperbolic about the evidence in order to justify their war. I'm 100% with that. I'm also okay with saying that the United States, and Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney in particular, they wanted a war with Iraq deposing Saddam Hussein since 1991. They wanted that for a decade. Okay? What I'm not going to accept and what I'm going to be skeptical of is pretending that this motivation was created whole cloth. No, it wasn't. It was based off of geopolitical realities from the decade previous.
States like these constitute an axis of evil.
One last chance to avoid war. The entire world must know that we will take whatever action is necessary.
On September the 11th, enemies of freedom committed an act of war against our country. The United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps in Afghanistan.
Let's start by looking at another document from the fall of 2001, when Deputy Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz created this memo for his boss, Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense. This was just 10 weeks after the attacks that changed the course of history, but this document wasn't about that. It was about Iraq.
Okay. Sorry. Art of Intelligence, Henry Crumpton. Okay, this book is written by a CIA insider. The Art of Intelligence, Lessons from a Life in the CIA's Clandestine Service. And he basically talks about what CIA clandestine operatives do every single day. In this book, if I remember correctly, he claims that in in the summer of 2001, after the USS Cole But before 9/11/2001, he had gone to a briefing with Donald Rumsfeld in order to tell him Al-Qaeda is a serious threat. They are ramping up what they want to do against the United States. The World Trade Center bombing in 1991 and the bombing of the USS Cole in 1999 are small potatoes to what they're cooking up. And Donald Rumsfeld, according to this book, told him, come back when you can tie it to Iraq. This is before 9/11/2001. So Donald Rumsfeld was looking for a pretext to get into Iraq prior to the 9/11/2001 attacks. And what we're going to be talking about, what I'm assuming this guy's going to be talking about, is Donald Rumsfeld trying to make the square peg fit in the round hole of Al-Qaeda, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
Country that had nothing to do with 9/11. Rumsfeld reviewed the document before meeting with an army general. He marked it up with his notes, giving us insight into what the Secretary of Defense of the United States was really thinking about after 9/11. How this group of military leaders were set on, quote, building momentum to topple Iraq's dictator Saddam Hussein, to decapitate the government. A government that was no longer useful to them. Saddam Hussein had been a useful client to the United States, especially in the 80s when he was waging a war against Iran, an enemy of the United States. But those days were now over. Saddam had turned into just a troublemaker in the region, creating instability that could threaten the US's easy access to oil.
2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. This conflict started August 2nd when the dictator of Iraq invaded a small and helpless neighbor.
And in many ways, Iraq was an old mess in need of cleaning up. A mess that Bush Sr. had failed to resolve during the first Gulf War. Iraq was supposed to disarm itself after that war, but had kicked out the UN weapons inspector teams. But that wasn't the main reason why right after 9/11 these guys were talking about invading Iraq. A bigger reason is that these leaders wanted to remind the world who the global superpower was. They needed to, after being brutally attacked on their own soil. A non-US friendly regime like Iraq couldn't be allowed to stand in a post-9/11 world. Or, in the words of Rumsfeld himself, hours after the towers fell, quote, we need to bomb something else to show that we're big and strong and not going to be pushed around. Iraq and its leader was that something else. And now Bush and his advisors were looking at a plan to make it a reality. But how to start the war? Could they tie Saddam Hussein to something that Americans feared, like 9/11 or anthrax? Or could they tell a story about weapons of mass destruction? What other countries could they bring in to support their invasion? And of course, the most important consideration, Rumsfeld jots it here at the end, they would need an influence campaign. They would need to sell the war. And when should they begin? How about right away?
Iraq continues to flaunt its hostility toward America and to support terror.
3 months later, the president was telling the world that Iraq was one of a group of evil countries that the US must oppose in the global fight against good and evil.
States like these constitute an axis of evil. The price of indifference would be catastrophic.
By the summer of 2002, this idea that Bush's advisors had scratched down after 9/11 was developing into an official policy. That handwritten influence campaign to sell the war was now in full swing.
There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
The Iraqi regime has been free to pursue the development of weapons of mass destruction.
We know they have weapons of mass destruction. There isn't any debate about it.
And this is exactly what the head of MI6 told Prime Minister Tony Blair at his house in the summer of 2002 after meeting with the CIA in Washington. It's what we see in the Downing Street memo, that there was a perceptible shift in attitude in Washington, and that the US invasion of Iraq was now seen as inevitable, and that they were now fixing intelligence around a decision that they had already made, and that the US wasn't really planning to work with the UN. They didn't want weapons inspections or getting UN approval for military force. And crucially, the head of the MI6 tells the Prime Minister that these Bush people aren't really thinking much about the aftermath of such an invasion.
What is inevitable is not regime change, it is disarmament of weapons of mass destruction.
This memo wasn't supposed to be seen by anyone but just a few, and that's why we can learn from it. It serves as one of the most potent pieces of evidence that the Bush administration was maneuvering two very different stories. their private story about the need to remove a dictator to project US power, which was in stark contrast to the public story that they had to tell to sell the invasion, their influence campaign.
Any country on the face of the earth with an active intelligence program knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
Because they knew that if they were really going to sell this war, they would need to convince not only the American public, but also Congress, and at least partially the international community. What we learn in the Downing Street memo is that they had settled on two main focus points for their story: that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, and that they're also working with the masterminds of 9/11. Not long after this meeting between MI6 and the CIA, Bush and his allies ramp up their influence campaign to sell their war.
Ooh, man. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but because we only have so much time, I'm actually going to want to do this. I'm going to want to do this as a segment soon. This is fantastic. So one of the interesting things is it's al-Zarqawi, right? Was the head of AQI, Al-Qaeda in Iraq. So Al-Qaeda in Iraq was a cell that was formed from a Jordanian sociopath who had tattoos and was in prison for a while. And he traveled to Afghanistan in order to talk to Osama bin Laden in order to get seed money to start AQI because the United States was saber-rattling about invading Iraq. And basically what ended up happening was at first Osama bin Laden was like, I don't know. He doesn't seem to know anything about Islam. He's kind of a sociopath. He's covered in tattoos. He's a former prisoner. I don't know if I trust this guy. I don't know if I want to give him any money. But what ends up happening is because of American saber-rattling about invading Iraq, Osama bin Laden does give $1 million to al-Zarqawi in order to go start AQI. And then the United States finds out about it. And then they use the formation of AQI as justification for the invasion. But there was little to no evidence besides, I think there was no evidence. There was no evidence besides Zarqawi's presence in northern Iraq that there was a Saddam regime Al-Qaeda connection. There was no other evidence that Al-Qaeda and Saddam had a connection besides Zarqawi's presence. And so part of the evidence used to sell the war to America, which was like proof positive that Saddam Hussein was coordinating with Al-Qaeda in order to fuck up America by taking the weapons of mass destruction that they had developed in the 1980s with U.S. help, which we omitted from all of our narratives, and that an Al-Qaeda attack on the United States was imminent using anthrax, botulism, VX, whatever, was this connection that itself was only created because of American antagonism. It's kind of wild. It's kind of a wild chunk of history. Man. So, Connor, hindsight 2020, how do you feel about fighting in those wars? It's weird, man. It's weird. I want to give you like a longer answer than what I'm going to give right now. What I'll say is, it really depends on whether or not you view republicanism as a universal human good or not. That's literally it. Because if you think that republicanism, mixed economy capitalism, and representative democracy are only for people who want it, and therefore are only for Westerners, and we shouldn't use any our hard or soft power to project our political or economic ambitions onto the rest of the world, then who gives a fuck if there's a dictator murdering hundreds of thousands of people on the other side of the planet? All we care, in that worldview, you would only care about the oil. But then there's like a humanitarian liberal side of me that's like, well, presumably, Iraqis are human beings. And if they're human beings, it's bad for them to be under the rule of a bloodthirsty dictator. And therefore, if we were able to depose a bloodthirsty dictator and then they were able to have a higher level of like self-governance and sovereignty and democracy and representation and republicanism and rule of law, is that not a good thing? Right? And then you have to do the calculations of blood and treasure. So I don't know. I truly don't know. I think the invasion of Iraq was a mistake in political economy because we probably could have eventually overthrown Saddam without the cost in blood and treasure. We could have just given them, not that Starlink was around at the time, but we could have given them Starlink terminals and small arms, and then it's up to them on whether or not they want to be free. So I'm happy Saddam's deposed, but I don't think it was worth the amount of blood and treasure. I guess that's the closest thing to an answer I can give you right now. Anyways, moving.
We've learned that Iraq has trained al-Qaeda members in bomb making, poisons, and deadly gases.
Where? Source?
The sales pitches to the American people for an invasion of Iraq were made with absolute certainty. Certainty that Iraq had WMDs.
He had agreed, and the UN had agreed, that he would not have a WMD program. We know he does have one.
Certainty that they wanted to use them against
Source?
Americans and American allies.
Simply stated, there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
Source? I'm kind of being a smartass, but the reason why I am evolving my perspective now. I'm truly evolving my perspective right in front of your very eyes. What I get frustrated with when people say Saddam had no WMD program is we found a bunch of defunct old shit from the 1980s and 1990s that was supposed to be destroyed, and it wasn't. They were hidden. So, in violation of the UN inspections agreements of the 1990s, they were hidden in bunkers. They were buried in the desert. They were forgotten about. But that's not what these dickheads are asserting. No offense, Dick Cheney. Rest in piss. Love you. But they're not asserting that, oh, well, maybe he has a few Scud missiles left over from the Iran-Iraq war in the 1990s. Maybe he has a few samples of anthrax and botulism left over from the 1980s and 1990s. They're saying he has an active WMD program, and they did not establish that. And by the way, I'm pretty sure there's a book about the fact that they sourced their active WMD program narrative off of a single unreliable human intelligence source. Whoops. Now, Khazra, I want to see what Khazra says, because I know Khazra is somebody who's affected by these thoughts. But Connor, they sure give America all the excuses. Leader of Al-Qaeda was assassinated in Tehran a couple of years ago. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's not that AQI. I'm not defending AQI in any way, shape, or form. Fuck them, right? But I do find the timeline ironic. Tiberius says, Connor, I think the best silver lining is the difference in Afghanistan before and after we left. The country has become 5 times worse a place since we've left. Yeah, that does suck as well.
He is amassing them to use against our friends, against our allies, and against us.
Certainty that Iraq was harboring terrorists.
And al-Qaeda terrorists escaped from Afghanistan and are known to be in Iraq.
And
al-Zarqawi, dude. They're talking about al-Zarqawi.
Certainty that Iraq was working on obtaining nuclear weapons.
And Iraq's state-controlled media has reported numerous meetings between Saddam Hussein and his nuclear scientists, leaving little doubt about his continued appetite for these weapons.
And these speeches were working. By the fall of 2002, Americans were in favor of an invasion of Iraq by just a narrow majority. But there was just one problem, that all of these statements were lies. Indeed, this was already known in the secret rooms of Downing Street, that the US was fixing their facts and their intel to match their already made decision. Iraq's supposed links to Al-Qaeda were based on one interrogation of a guy whose testimony lacked, quote, specific details, and who was intentionally lying about it to mislead his interrogators. Bush and his allies knew this. It was clearly documented back in February of 2002. And yet, publicly, the scary story about Al-Qaeda being in Iraq continued to be sold by Bush.
When did al-Zarqawi actually get into Iraq? What was that, February of 2002? When did al-Zarqawi arrive in Iraq? May 2002. May 2002. So there was a gap of about 3 months where they interrogated somebody in February who recanted that there was Al-Qaeda in Iraq. But then by May 2002, there was a representative in Iraq. But that representative was there because of the saber rattling. The irony. The irony.
And his people.
The Iraqi regime has plotted to develop anthrax, nerve gas, and nuclear weapons for over a decade.
The case for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq was equally thin, and senior officials knew it. Like in September 2002, when Donald Rumsfeld received this report from the Joint Chiefs assessing what real evidence there actually was for WMD in Iraq. The report is shockingly honest, and it says that the conclusion that Saddam has WMD, quote, relied heavily on analytic assumptions and judgments rather than hard evidence. That's word salad for it was speculation and conjecture. The report goes on to say that they didn't have anything solid on nuclear weapons related facilities, and concludes that they don't know of any facilities where Saddam may be producing or testing biological weapons. And so we know now that they had almost no evidence for their story about why the US should invade Iraq. And yet, even knowing this, they kept selling the same story, convincing the American people.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Nice. All right. It's 102. 102. I will actually make a conversational nuance in future debates about the WMD program, whether or not it was like there in Iraq or whatever. My frustration with the conversations that we have is the fact that, how do I phrase this? Saying they had no WMDs is not true, right? We sold them the WMDs in the 1980s and the, I guess late 80s was when our relationship frayed. And then in the 1990s, they did avoid UN inspectors. So we had speculative reason to believe that they had WMDs. But that's not what the Bush administration was selling. They weren't saying, oh, yeah, we sold them WMDs in the 1980s and we think he still has them, but we don't have hard evidence for it. They were blatantly stating without strong evidence, we have strong evidence that he has an active WMD program. So, yeah, fuck him. Fuck him. Now, Gen X. I think Jen Winkler says, Fashion 40, a convicted liar in prison, you mean? Gen X, I owe you an apology. Okay? The reason why I owe you an apology isn't because I don't think what I think. I do think that some streamers are using the poor behavior of the president in order to justify their own bad behavior. My apology is that I was a twat about it. And I was rude. And I value your viewership and your presence in the community. So, while still thinking that some creators use the poor behavior of the President of the United States to justify their own poor behavior, and I think that is an immoral and silly moral perspective, I am sorry for being rude about it and aggressive about it in a way that rubbed you the wrong way. So I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and thank the people who did donate today. And let me go ahead and go to my medical appointment. So, Sapient Green, Doobie Doobie Doobie, Shapingro, Old School, Lord of the Nerds, Lord of the Nerds, Lord of the Nerds, Doobie Doobie Doobie, Fellrunner, and Officer Nasty. Thank you, kings and queens, not only for your viewership. Jen Winkler says, it's okay. You're wrong sometimes. It happens. All right. I need to get ready. I need to go get ready, and I need to go to a doctor's appointment. So I parasocially love you guys. Thank you to the 50-plus people who hung out with us today. Thank you for your financial support. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will probably see you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., and we might be doing a Valor Reacts thing. I do have kids tomorrow afternoon. It'll be a weird day. Today and tomorrow are going to be weird days, so just be ready for that. But anyways,